Okay. Hey guys, good afternoon and welcome to today's YouTube Live conversation with me. My name is Glory Elijah. This is Frankly Speaking with Glory Elijah. And guys, I'm super excited that we are meeting here today. Today's conversation, guys, I've been looking forward to this conversation since last week, Sunday. Yes, last week, Sunday. If you all recall, we had our gathering here as usual on Saturday, and I did not announce a topic that we would be discussing today because, according to what I said, okay, I was waiting for something. Yeah. So I was actually waiting to watch the movie Straw because I just felt like there might be some takeaways that we could discuss, from the movie. And so I had watched the movie on Sunday. I put out my review on Tuesday. For those of you that have seen my review, thank you so much for watching that video. Yes, but on that video, I did not really get to express a lot of things that I really wanted to express because the video would have been too ridiculously lengthy. And so that is the reason we're having this live conversation today, all right? To catch up more on some of the lessons learned from watching the movie Straw. By the way, if you are yet to see the movie, it's available on Netflix. It's called Straw by Tyler Perry. All right. And today's conversation also is to hear your thoughts about the movie. I saw a lot of your comments, and wow, guys, I never thought a day would come where I will watch a movie and almost half the population of people that watch the same movie would actually feel the same way about the movie. I mean, it means that Tyler Perry actually did a great job. Yeah, because it's not easy to put out a work of art and then be able to provoke the emotions of the multitude of people that will watch it, right? And that was exactly what Tyler Perry did. And I was telling someone the other day that I want to believe that Tyler Perry and his entire cast and crew shed tears whilst working on that movie. I saw a comment that it took them, was it 4 days or 6 days to shoot? I don't know. I don't know. I have no knowledge of the backstories of the movie. Yeah, but they really did they did a great job. They did a great job. And I think one of the most important things about the movie is how a lot of people can actually relate with everything that the main character Janaya went through in the space of 24 hours. Yes, because the movie, I think the time frame of the plot is a 24-hour time frame. Yes, so it was quite fascinating how almost everybody that watched the movie um, attested to the fact that one way or the other, or at some point or the other in their life, they have actually experienced a thing or more of most of the things that the main character actually experienced in the movie. So we're going to go ahead and dissect the movie. All right, we're going to dissect it. We're going to dig into it in details. And there were a lot of things I also noticed, right, which I did not mention on my video. So I'm going to go ahead and mention it as well in this conversation. And guys, you know how we do it on here. I'm not going to be doing the talking alone. I'm just going to share a bit, and then I'll go ahead, drop the link to the conversation in the comment section below. And I'll be looking forward to all of you tuning in to contribute. All right. But once again, you're all especially welcome. I see you, Lala. Lala, thank you so much for being the first to comment. Thank you so much for joining today's conversation. I see you, Zami. Hi, Zami. You're especially welcome. There's Jollywood. Jollywood, you are especially welcome. Yes, long time. You're welcome. And then there's Erica. Erica, it's always a pleasure having you here. Thank you so much for tuning in. Yes, thank you so much. I'm looking at this comment from Jolly. Jolly said, um, let me see, said, yeah, okay, I think you're referring to the cast and crew that they shed tears. Taraji said in one of our interviews that when she was telling her story and it was live, she saw the camera guys cleaning their eyes, then she knew she was doing good. Absolutely, absolutely. Even before getting to the point in the bank scene where she was telling her story, not knowing that one of the bank staff members was streaming it live to the world, I mean, just watching every single one of those things, those sordid events happening to her one after the other, it was already provoking my emotions. So yes, I think it's a great movie. Annie J, you're especially welcome. I see you there. Thank you so much for tuning in. Okay, guys, let's take it from the very top. Now, I don't know how many of you noticed that um, there was a recurring theme of loss in the entire movie. A recurring theme of loss. Right from the very beginning, the very first scene of the movie Straw, there was that recurring theme, like the theme of loss, LOSS. It's just been there, right? So from the opening scene, what you see is a house unkept, an eviction notice, obviously from Jania's landlord. And then you also see um, a single mom and the daughter. We're going to get to the daughter's part, anyways. You also see a single mom and the daughter trying to catch some sleep, the mom especially trying to catch some sleep, but getting really disturbed by the noise from her neighbor's apartment, who was probably having a party at that point in time. And so she had to get up, you know, reading with fatigue, with tiredness. She had to get up, prepare herself and her daughter for their day, right? And for the daughter to go to school, for her to go to work. So what you see is a single mother that obviously looks tired without even digging further into the entire movie itself. You already have been able to capture the picture of a single mom that has no financial support, that has no husband, right? So everything is left to her to handle. And obviously, she's overwhelmed. And so, despite that feeling of being overwhelmed, she just has to forge ahead. She has to continue. And then, from then onwards, we learned that her daughter had had a home accident where she had tripped and had, bruised herself when she was trying to have a bath by herself. And then we also learned that the daughter is sick. Yeah, daughter is sick, I think terminal illness, and has been on drugs for the longest time. And then we also learned that she is owing for rent, and the landlord has been threatening her with eviction, right? And she's been making promises that, oh, don't worry, I'm getting my paycheck today, I'm going to pay. And then from then on, um, there's our workplace that is just rowdy, very, very rowdy and angry boss that is just very mean, completely indifferent to the realities around him. For him, just get the job done. That was it for our boss. Now, there's the loss of the job that happened, right? Okay, first there was a loss of a child. And guys, I'm just speaking about this from the progression of what we watched in the movie, right? So there was a loss of a child, because the school felt like she was not really taking care of the daughter. The complaints were that the daughter is always dirty, the daughter does not eat properly, does not feed well. The daughter needs $40 for lunch and she cannot provide that. So she lost her daughter to childcare. And then she lost her job. And then there was a denial of her paycheck by her boss. And then there was a loss of her shelter, right? Okay, before the loss of her shelter, I think there was a loss of her car, right? She got into a road rage situation with a white cop who threatened to unalive her at any given opportunity in the most illegal way possible. He was going to unalive her. And then there was a loss of her apartment. The landlord had thrown her things out in the rain. So imagine all of these things happening, one after the other, one after the other. This woman was not catching any breaks at all. It just felt like she woke up in the morning and the cruel part of the universe just decided to punish her completely for that entire day. Some people lose things gradually. Some people, it takes them years to lose this, and then it takes them more years later to lose things. Some people are so unfortunate. But this woman, it just seemed like Mother Luck was not smiling on her on that day. So she lost everything on that very day. Now, at that point in time, Us, the viewers, were not aware that she had actually lost her daughter to death the night before, right? But talking about the progression of the movie, guys, I totally loved it because Tyler Perry was able to show us through Taraji's fantastic acting, right? Was able to show us that these things do happen to people. And the way life goes, sometimes you cannot dictate to life how certain things happen to you. Yeah. Sometimes you cannot dictate. Some people plan their days, and at the end of the day, it doesn't really go according to how they planned it. So, speaking about the recurring theme of loss, in 24, I think even before 24 hours, this woman had lost almost, in fact, let's say she lost everything. The only thing that was left for her to lose was her life. And the point where she snapped was when she had gone back to her boss to demand her check. This was after she went back home and the landlord had thrown her things outside. So she had run back to her place of work to go plead with her boss to give her a check. And this man, who obviously is a black man, right? And if you want to think about it according to Black American history, one would expect that, oh, because he's black, because she's black, you should have been more empathetic towards her plight. You should have been more understanding and even, offered some support to help her buffer all of that struggle that she was dealing with for that day. But the man did not care. Talk about the height of indifference. That was where her boss was at. Her boss did not care. Her boss was completely indifferent, like completely detached from her reality. Now, we're not saying that the boss should have carried her reality, like it was his responsibility. No, but one would have expected that as a black man himself, he should have been able to relate to her situation. That, okay, sometimes things actually do get really tough for single black mothers. But no, the man was completely indifferent, did not care, and even added to her frustration. And the most annoying part too was that there was money in that office, guys. You see that bank scene where she had mentioned the amount she wanted to cash from the bank? Guys, I almost lost my mind. How much was it? I think it was $595 or how much? It wasn't even up to $1,000. It was that small. And the money her boss had in his office when she had gone back to plead with him for a check. Ladies and gentlemen, that man had over $10,000 in that office because it was at that point in time that the robbers, invaded the office. So that scene, okay, thank you so much, NEJ. $516. $516. Just a little over $500. Just a little over. See, that scene was so triggering. But at the same time, that scene was also very significant because you see, yeah, it's a reality. It's a very sad but harsh reality in society. It is. Because you see, yeah, there is a culture of people minding their business, especially when they see certain people going through the worst. For them, so long as I am not going through that worst, I'm good. I'm glad it is not my struggle. So it is their struggle. Let them go through their own struggle. They'll be fine at the end of the day. So $516. That was how little that amount was. All the boss needed to do was to just count that money and give it to her. But instead, he wanted her to go away and wait for 3 days for the check of $516 to drop in her mailbox. And guys, you see here, there are some people that watched the movie and they felt like Janaya, the main character, overreacted. That, oh, how many days was 3 days that she couldn't just wait? And I'm like, you think 3 days is not a lot? Did you guys count the number of hours in that particular day that this woman lost everything, including her sanity? It wasn't up to 24 hours. It wasn't up to 12 hours, even. It wasn't. It wasn't. And if my calculations are right, I don't think it was even up to 5 hours, because those unfortunate events were just happening back to back, back to back, back to back. She did not, and you see, the worst of it all is there was no time for her to take a breather. There was no time for her to just catch a break and, gather her thoughts together and think, like, okay, what do I do next? There was no time. These things just kept on happening. They were just happening back to back. And you see, that's the reality about life. Some people have it that way. It happens. This is not just fiction, it happens. So, guys, you see the role the boss played in all of these things, guys. As I said, as sad as it was, it's a reality and it was very painful to watch. So, once again, the theme of loss was very, very poignant in this movie. And loss is something that everybody goes through one way or the other. And I think that's one of the things that made the movie so relatable, that people were watching it, even people that were well to do. I believe that at some point in their life, they must have gone through something similar, maybe not exact, but something similar. And that's why a lot of people were watching the movie and it was triggering something, maybe some memory that they buried somewhere in their mind. It triggered that thing, unearthed those memories, those sad memories, those triggers, and people were getting triggered into tears. Anyways, another thing that was very glaring in the movie is the mental and emotional damages of the loss of a loved one. The loss of a loved one. A lot of people did not understand the end of that movie, but I think it was quite self-explanatory. I think it was a very simple ending, to be very honest. I think it was very easy to understand. But let's revisit that end part, right? At the bank, when it seemed like all the dust was settling, right? Um, the mom called. Obviously, the FBI, they had been able to reach Jania's mom, and the mom was quite shocked, like, what the hell is going on? This woman, like, of course, the mom probably had heard a story on TV and was wondering, like, what is she talking about? Right? So the mom had called her, like, what the hell are you doing? And she's getting all defensive. And the mom had to remind her that no, Aria died last night, which was the scene that we saw. That's one of the opening scenes when she was leaving the hospital with her daughter in her arms. Apparently, she was living with the duvet. She had lost her daughter. So, what that means is that she had lost her daughter the previous night, and then the next day, instead of her to take her time to properly grieve, maybe just cry it out, or maybe just take a day off of work and off everything. She continued with her daily routine. She continued with her life. Because for her, there's something about tragedy. There's something about loss, right? When people lose people and they find it unbelievable, they go into a deliberate state of mental denial. It's a deliberate state of mental denial, a deliberate state of delusion. It's like they refuse to accept the reality of that situation because it is very hurtful, it is very painful, it is very heartbreaking. So, what that end was telling us is that the Janaya, the main character that we were watching from the very beginning of the movie, was actually operating, her physical self was actually operating in a mental and emotional state of denial. For her daughter was not dead. For her, she still had to wake up in the morning. She still had to pacify her landlord that, oh, don't worry, I'm getting my check today. When I come back, I'm going to pay my rent. She was still operating in the mindset of, no, my daughter is still alive. I am still going to go to work and bust my ass to get that $40 for my daughter's lunch. Oh, the school took away my daughter. I'm still going to prove to them that I am a capable mother. Even though I'm a single mom, I'm still going to prove to them that I can take care of my daughter. I can provide for my daughter. She was operating in that mental and emotional state of denial, of delusion. And you see, that was her coping mechanism. That was her way of buffering the pain of losing her 8-year-old daughter. She did not want to accept it. She did not believe that her daughter was gone. So for her, the best way to switch that reality to a non-reality was to forge ahead with her daily life like none of those tragedies had actually happened. So she decided to just continue and pretend like nothing happened. And it pushed her to a state of desperation. Because for her, no, I'm trying everything in my capacity to provide for my baby, to ensure that my baby is okay. But all the forces of life, the forces of society are trying to stand in the way of my hustle, of my progress. No, this is unacceptable. And that was the reason when the boss was charging at her to hand over the money to the robbers, she decided to kill one of the robbers and to also shoot at her boss. Because at that point in time, the only thing she was seeing were obstacles. For her, at that point in time, her boss, those robbers, even though those robbers were dangerous, the most dangerous thing for her at that point were not even the robbers. It was not the fact that her boss had picked up the phone to call the police. No, she wasn't even scared of the police at that point in time. The only thing that she was scared of was not getting that money to pay her rent and to go settle her daughter's lunch money in school. That was the only fear she had at that point in time. And you see, that is what such a mental breakdown could lead to. She was past the point of caring. She was past the point of caring. She was past the point of even thinking about the consequences. To the point that she even carried that gun to the bank. It's not like she's a guru, in robbery operations, but for her, it was important. It was a necessity for her to cash that check, even though she did not have an ID on her. It was a necessity. That check must be cashed. $516 for her was a saving grace to get her daughter back, to get her apartment back, and to possibly go and sort out her car that had been towed by the white police officers. So every other person in front of her were obstacles. She was not afraid of the law at that point in time. For her, everything she was doing was for her daughter. Her baby had needs. Her baby needed to be comfortable and not continue to be mocked in class. So she needed to do whatever it took to secure her baby. So, ladies and gentlemen, see ya. The thing about losing a loved one, it is such a breaking point. It is such a breaking point that I don't think a lot of people actually do understand how deep it runs, except they actually experience it. You see that scene in the movie, right? That scene in the movie where the mom had to remind her that her daughter died the previous night and everything came back to her that, oh my God, what have I done? Oh, yes, I remember now. Like it was that point of realization that, oh my God, she had not been operating in a normal self. Ladies and gentlemen, you see that point? I cried bitterly. I cried a lot because it struck a chord. It reminded me of when I lost my eldest brother. Yeah, I think, okay, I can't remember if I've told this story before on this channel, but it reminded me of that event. I had lost my dad 12th of October 2018. And then we had buried my dad 12th of December, same 2018. And then 18th of February 2019, my brother had passed. I mean, we were not catching a break. The family was still trying to, recover from the shock of us losing my dad. We were still trying to find closure. We had not found closure. We're still trying to find closure. I was an emotional wreck. I was completely gone. There was just a lot of things going on with me. I was not okay. So I was in the office 3 days later, because the way my brother died, it remains a mystery to everybody. This young man had just rented an apartment somewhere in Lagos, right? He had just rented an apartment. He had been doing a lot, hustling, hustling, hustling. And then finally, to the glory of God, he got money, he rented an apartment, and he had just moved in to that apartment. So he just died in the apartment. Nobody knew. So I had been calling him. My boss at work had a contract for printing. My brother had this printing company he had started by himself. So my boss told me, okay, if you have somebody that can do this printing for this thing, get the person. I was calling my brother the whole day. He was not picking. Second day, I was calling him, he was not picking. And then my mom, everybody, my whole family, they were calling my brother. He was not picking. His church members, they were calling him. Nobody was speaking. This thing lasted 3 days. My brother's phone was ringing and ringing and ringing and ringing. They were sending WhatsApp messages, text messages. He was not responding. It was his neighbor's 1 year old daughter that, the woman lived opposite his apartment. And the daughter, I think she was 1 or 2, because he's very friendly with babies. So he was always buying her sweets and chocolates and biscuits whenever he returned or wherever. And he just moved in just 4 days or 3 days into the apartment. And the daughter, according to the woman, said she saw him. Oh, I saw Uncle Solomon, mommy, Uncle Solomon, Uncle Solomon. And the woman was like, oh, you saw him? I haven't seen him too. So she went knocking on his door. He wasn't opening. And then they noticed that the inside, like the inner door was not locked. So they had to go and turn his window. And that was where they saw his body. He was lying down on his bed like he was praying. And that was where he died. His body was already decaying. So imagine having lost your dad. And then, like 3 months later, or let's say 4 months later, brother passes as well. So I was in the office that day, and my brother's friend just chatted me up on Snapchat. This is somebody that we don't talk, we don't chat. And he just sent me a message. Oh, are you Solomon's sister? I've been seeing your snaps. I'm like, oh, yes. And he was like, oh, I'm so sorry about what happened. I said, what happened? He said, oh, your brother is gone. Didn't you hear? Didn't they tell you? Your brother is gone. I said, it's a lie. And I was calling him and calling him and calling him, and he wasn't picking. And then I tried calling my sister's husband in Abuja, and he was like, Itoro, calm down. My native name is Itoro. He said, Itoro, calm down. Just calm down. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know how I got to my office gate from inside the office. But the last thing I remembered was my office colleagues, they were dragging me from the gate, because I think I experienced like a flip second of madness, because I was right there at my office desk and I was receiving the call, and I was shaking. I'm like, no, 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 it's a lie, it's a lie. And the next thing, I don't know what happened next. But the only thing I remember at that point in time was they were dragging me from my office gates, like 3 people or 2 people. They were dragging me back. They were trying to carry me back into the office. I said, no, they need to leave me alone. I need to go and look for my brother. My office was in Lekki Phase 1. Where my brother had rented an apartment was all the way at Yaba. That's on the mainland of Lagos. This is like, it's probably going to take me like an hour or an hour, 30 minutes to get there. I said, I'm going there to go and look for my brother. He said, where are you going? No, 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 you can't go. I said, no, I just want to go. Maybe if I walk, I will get there. I was just speaking gibberish, you know? And it took me, after that day, it took me such a long time God. Yeah. Okay. Guys, I'm so sorry. It's just, I don't know. Whew. Guys, I'm so sorry. It's just that, sometimes things happen and you think you've actually. Oh, ah, see, guys. Anyways, thank you so much. Thank you so much, guys. But see, I think the movie really, when I watched that scene of the movie, it was so relatable because it's been how many years now? 2019, 2020, 2020, like about 7 years now. But I'm going to be very honest. Sometimes I still lie to myself that my brother is still alive. To be very honest, I still lie to myself that he's alive. I still lie to myself that he's somewhere, he's married, he has his family, and he's doing well. Sometimes I still live in that denial that he's gone. It actually happens to a lot of people, not just me. It happens to a lot of people. So when I watched Straw, that scene, uh, that scene was so relatable. It was so relatable, you know, it was so relatable. And when I saw reviews, I was kind of triggered, by the people that were actually dragging um I was triggered by the people that were dragging Tyler Perry. Like, why is he always showing the side of black women? Why? And I was vexed. Like, what do people mean? Do you know what movies like this actually do for a lot of people? Do you know? Because I feel like sometimes it's okay to to give people that space to snap back into reality. Because you see, watching that movie, guys, one of the key takeaways for me was praying to God or working towards getting the right partner. Because I did a comparison between Janaya, the main character, and the bank manager. If you do a comparison between those two characters, you will find out that there's a lot of difference, but they are black women, right? They are black women. The bank manager, she said she's happily married. Her husband is the best. She has two children, and she doesn't know what she would do without her husband. She has a good marriage. She has a thriving marriage, a working marriage. And obviously, she was blessed to marry someone that has supported her growth in her career. For the fact that she has risen up to the level of a bank manager, it means she has a good marriage. So what that means is it is actually possible for people, black women, right? Black women to actually have good marriages, to actually meet good men. and vice versa. Black men to meet good Black women and vice versa. It's actually possible. Now, it could be good for some people, but for some people, they might not have it easy. And obviously, Janaya in Straw did not have it easy. Now, Talakari did not give us the backstory of her relationship with her husband, but obviously, it's not a good relationship. It's not a good relationship. Maybe I missed it, but there was nowhere in the movie where I heard that the husband was late. There was no way I heard. But the point is, she's struggling because she has no financial support from anywhere. Now, except the husband is late, if the husband is alive, why? Why was he not supporting her? Was there any reason why Janaya was not receiving financial support from the husband? And you can imagine for how long she's been struggling. The daughter is 8 years. So it makes you wonder, how long has she been carrying the burden of being the mother and the sole provider for her daughter on that meager salary, $516? How far can $516 go? How far? You know? So yeah, that was another takeaway from the movie. And guys, the movie is just so relatable. It is just so relatable to me and to a lot of people out there for so many reasons. But quickly moving on, another another thing I noticed from the movie is there was some level of social indifference versus communal support. Social indifference, in the sense that what's he called? Her boss. He's Black, a man, obviously a father, a husband as well. But he decided to completely detach herself from Janaya's predicament. For him, she has too many stories. There's always something with her. She's always coming up with one complaint or the other. Now, I know that it can be quite exhausting, to have an employee, and if the employee is not a high performer, that frustration of, oh, you're paying somebody's salary, but the person is not really delivering on their deliverables. There could also be that frustration, right, in his own defense. But one would have expected that him being a father himself, right, he should probably understand. He should probably understand. But he chose to be completely detached. For him, he doesn't want to be bothered. He doesn't really care. He could have just easily paid her a check after firing her, but he decided not to. Now, she received support from a colleague at work, which was quite beautiful. And you see, that was another very outstanding thing that I saw in the movie, the power of women supporting women. It was such a powerful theme, and I really loved it. The fact that a colleague at work who also had to share in the burden of taking the bulk of the work, from her, that woman was quite supportive. The little money she had, she handed over to Janaya at the very beginning when she learned that Janaya could not afford to give her daughter $40 for lunch in school. She handed over the little that she had to Janaya. And then there was the bank manager that had known all along that Janaya lost her daughter. So she decided to play along in Janaya's delusion just to ensure that Janaya left the scene of that crime unscathed. That it would be better for Janaya to go to jail, serve time, than to die for what she was fighting for. And so she decided to stick by Janaya. She decided not to escalate the situation, but instead looked for different ways to de-escalate the situation. Now, there was also the other bank staff that put the whole thing online. For her, that was her own way of giving Janaya the audience that she needed, And then there was the other old woman that could not breathe anymore, and they had to lead her outside, So, before I even forget, the cop woman that stood in as negotiator because they thought Janaya had a bomb. The support, the way the cop fought for Janaya, the way she went out of her way to look for her colleague, the white police officer that had threatened to shoot her down, the way she punched the man and ensured that the man was brought to book. That was a very, very strong force of support from other women who could relate. And you see, the beauty about those women supporting Janaya, for me, right? I mean, I totally appreciated her colleague at work. I appreciated Tinaya Taylor, that acted the role of the cop woman that stood in as negotiator. I appreciated her. I appreciated the other bank staff, not the other saucy one that was very annoying, that was completely indifferent of the whole situation. Nah. But the other one that put her on live stream, I completely appreciated that one. But the one that I really appreciated the most was the bank manager. Because the bank manager comes from, she has a good home, according to how she was portrayed in the movie. She has a loving husband. She has loving kids. She's obviously happy. She's fulfilled. Her husband is treating her well. Her husband is taking care of her. Her story in the movie is not the typical story of the regular Black woman that always has one sad story with men, you know? Because let's be very honest with ourselves. A lot of times, you find that some women who actually have good homes, they tend to look down on the other ones who do not really have good homes or who do not really have it easy, because they always blame them like, oh, if you had chosen the right man, you wouldn't have been in this mess now. The truth is, how do you know if you're even choosing the right person? Because sometimes you choose the right person, but then things change along the way. So sometimes it's good, sometimes not that great. So the fact that she went out of her way, because she had an opportunity to leave that bank premises. When she took that old woman out, I think the woman that had was it asthma, and the police officer, the female police officer, Tinaya Taylor, was telling her to leave. She said no, that she's going back in there and she must ensure that she comes out together with Janaya, that she's not going to let Janaya, be by herself. The support that woman gave to Janaya, that was beautiful to watch. So as I said, that was a very, very powerful thing. The power of women supporting women. These days, a lot of people talk about women supporting women, but the very true, honest truth is people don't really mean it when they talk about women supporting women. Most people, this thing about women supporting women that they do, it's only when it is beneficial to them. It's only when they can get something out of it. Yeah, I'm not saying women should stand in front of women and get a bullet. No, you don't have to catch a bullet, but there's a way you support people, and it really goes a long way to show how much you value human life in itself. So yeah, that was just another thing that I really loved. And then speaking about the communal support, it was just so beautiful to see how that community could totally relate, both blacks, both whites. They could relate with Janaya's story. The fact that they all trooped out en masse to the front of the bank to hold placards, to be cheering her on, to be hyping her, and to be, more like standing in solidarity and driving home a very powerful message to the police that nothing must happen to Janaya. That was really powerful. And it only goes to show you that Janaya is not the only person in that movie that had that kind of story to tell. It goes to tell you that a lot of the people in that crowd, they probably are going through the same thing or they've gone through it, but our story was just so relatable because it's something that could happen to anybody. It doesn't have to be a single Black mother. It could be a man. It could be any gender. It could be anybody. Even people that are wealthy too experience loss one way or the other. It could be the loss of financial stability. You could see someone that, was very wealthy and boom, before you know it, they lose everything overnight. They lose everything overnight. Could be the loss of shelter. Nobody wants to sleep on the streets. It could be the loss of mobility. It's either you lose your legs or you lose your car. It could be the loss of a loved one. So this time around, I think Tyler Perry did a fantastic job. I think if people that were complaining, if they watched that movie beyond Tyler Perry's usual storyline of black women, black single mothers, black women in horrible marriages or horrible relationships, I think if they look beyond his regular things, they will see that this time around, Tyler Perry was trying to drive home a message that when people lose a loved one, it could lead to several damages. It could lead to several damages. And the ultimate damage could be the loss of their sanity. And when they choose a coping mechanism, it could be something that is even detrimental to them, as well as society around them. So I'm going to stop talking here because I really want to hear from all of you. So, guys, I'm just going to go ahead and share the link to this conversation in the comment section below. I would love to hear from all of you. All right. The question is, if you've seen the movie Straw, what did you get out of it? What were your key takeaways? What were your key takeaways? And what made you like the movie? What made the movie relatable to you? Did you cry whilst watching the movie? I want to hear from every single person. So, guys, just go ahead and click on the link. All right, click on the link. Okay. Hi, Queen.
Hello, my love. How are you?
I am good. You're especially welcome. Nice to hear from you.
Mm-hmm. Where do I start? Okay, so you know how first thing I'm gonna put a disclaimer. When people say that Tyler Perry likes to profit off of black women, like off of their trauma and pain, I disagree because this is a man telling his life story. You get what I'm saying? Talking
Yeah.
about telling what he sees. Let me make something abundantly clear to people, and which is why people think living in America is easier. Every country has their struggle. Every American is one mental breakdown away from being Janella. I'm so
Hmm.
serious. Even me that don't have kids, when I tell you I've
Mm.
had the week from hell, like I'm 1 minute from losing it my damn self. You get what I'm saying? And
Mm-hmm.
what people don't understand is that, listen, in America, it's hard being in America. And it's also hard being a black woman in America. You get what I'm saying? It's hard being
Mm-hmm.
a black woman because single mothers are a real thing. Single mothers that don't have any help, don't have any support. You're asking where Janella's husband is. He's probably in jail
Hmm.
for the rest of his life. And she's there with kids. And she's supposed to make it happen for her kids. She has a useless boss that's not understanding, that's tired of her own excuses. Like everybody, that's the thing. Nigeria is hard. America
Mm-hmm.
is hard too. It's just that the system tends to work a little bit here, but like it's hard being a single mother in this country. It's hard being a single mother. I have coworkers that are single moms, and they were just like, and I'm looking at them, especially when I was working at McDonald's. I had single mothers that was making my salary of, I just want to flex as a college student, and they're making them as their own salary.
Hmm.
And I'm just like, excuse me, I'm making 500. I'm thinking I'm balling. I'm going to club popping bottles. You are raising a whole four kids with this salary? Oh, no, baby. I no, because you have to think about stuff like this, like that. That's number one. Number two, I think people need to understand that grief is something that never goes away. You can go through the four stages of grief, but four or five, depending on the day. But you can still, you will still have moments that it hits you. You get what I'm saying? I just watched it hit you because it still feels new. Because sometimes you're asking yourself the question, love, what happened? The fact that you have you don't have answers to what transpired that night. You get what I'm saying? You have
Hmm.
thoughts in your mind like, what happened? The fact that he died alone and nobody was there and nobody can tell you exactly what happen. These are the things
Mm.
that when you were watching that movie, you were thinking about.
Yeah.
Grief does
Exactly.
not go Grief does not go away. You just learn
Mm.
to manage it, but it will hit you once in a while.
True.
And you just start to cry, or you just be like, maybe I'm supposed to go to the store today. I'm canceling my whole day. I'm going to be in bed, because that's how it is. Because it's hard to have somebody here. It's hard to have somebody here. And then next minute, they're not here. And they didn't even get to say goodbye.
True.
You don't even say goodbye. It's hard. You want to know how I deal with grief? You want to know how I deal with grief? I have one special gift. Hello? I
Mm-hmm.
have one special gift. And I feel like God gave me that gift because He knows that I cannot handle it. Before people die, I know about it before.
Mm.
Let me give you an example. 2022, my grandpa died. But a
Mm.
month before he died, I was just sleeping. And I just had a dream, and it was like, he died. I said, I was like, no, guess what, my dear? A month later, he died.
Mm.
Now, when he died, it pained me because I was really pained. But I felt like God prepared me for that because He knew He was one of my favorite people alive. You get what I'm saying? And
Mm.
it just was my coping mechanism. And I feel like
Mm.
that. But let me make something clear. Jen, let me tell you a story now, because I have a lot of story. I am a single woman. I am not married. I don't have kids. There was a day I went to work. Work was horrible. I had to drive an hour 20 minutes back from work because there was traffic on the road. I had brain fog. I have not eaten. I was upset. I was angry. And then I went to go and get gas because I like to get gas in the night, not in the morning. I like to get gas. When I tell you, I was so frustrated that day that I took diesel. I paid for gas, so I carried diesel pump. And then I stood there for 20 minutes. Like, oh my God, why? What is wrong with this thing? What is wrong? I wanted to start crying. It took 20 minutes for me to realize that I was holding diesel. And I'm a single female. Now imagine a mother, a black American mother that the system don't give a damn about, that
Mm.
has one or more kids. Shebi, I own is still better. People have 4 kids that they cannot afford. They have to work 2 jobs. They have to make sure you have mothers in this America. Tyler Perry is telling the reality of a lot of single mothers, and
Exactly.
people don't want to hear that. They what's it called? You have mothers that what's it called that they cannot afford to have one job because they don't have any school degree. They only have high school, because a lot of people in
Mm-hmm.
this America only have high school. So she's working at the store, and then in the night she's working at a restaurant. She'll be telling her
Mm.
11-year-old son that, please help me take care of your brother, the food in the kidney. They're doing this to make a living. When I tell you, I worked for the system of America before I became what I am now. I worked for the system. I work for a system where these female people are on food stamp. They have Section 8. They need all the help they can. And the way they discriminate, do you know that in this America is a country I will seek, somebody will work all their life, they will retire, and then they have health issues. And they are telling them, your pension should pay for your health issues when it should be for the enjoyment. You know what story I thought you were going to talk about? I think we need to talk about that next week. That Ifunaya girl. I have a lot to say, my dear. So that's why I tell people you need to give people grace. In this America, they don't give you grace. Let me make something clear to you. Let me give you a personal story because I like stories. I am a successful babe, but you know what happened to me early December? Somebody tried to hack my account, my
Mm.
savings, and my checkings. My dear, my account was frozen. I
Wow.
couldn't take money out, I couldn't withdraw money.
Mm.
And me, I'm a very egotistical babe. I don't like to ask for help. For my family, they will help me, but I don't like. And then especially my papa. My papa will be like, you're not managing your life well. I didn't want to hear that story. So I kept quiet. I pay
Mm.
my rent every month. By myself, I pay my rent 2,200. I pay it comfortably. My dear, I could not pay it though. My dear, I could not pay it for one month. When I tell you, pay, they sent me a court fee saying that Alaye, we are taking you to court for not paying. And bear in mind, I've been living for 2 years. I pay on the 30th of every month. We got on to the 5th. I paid the 30th of every month. They don't, they almost took me to court. I had to go
Just
and
this one time. Just
just
this one
one
time.
time, baby, one time. Bam! No, it wasn't even that. When I tell you, pay all the bills that was on auto pay that I did not bother about. That is when I realized, pay, brah, your credit cards are due, your rent is due, your car insurance is due. You need like 3,500 for your bills alone, and you don't have nothing. And
Hmm.
it wasn't even that I did not have the money; I just could not access it. I'm calling bank. Hello. I'm calling
Hectic.
bank. I'm calling bank. Bank is saying that we cannot help you. We're still investigating because we don't know where this is coming from. My dear, it took them 3 months to unlock that account.
Wow.
It took my
You
dear.
survived.
It. What did you say?
How did you survive?
My dear, I had to humble myself and be like, Baba Lade, listen. I don't want to hear. I have to change for my papa one time. I was like, yo, father, listen. This is what is happening. And this, I'm like, I need you to write me a calm check. For right now, I will pay you back. And then I got offended because this man actually expected his money back. I gave him his money back, but you're my father. Like, come on now. But he was just like, no. Like, I was upset. But like, when I tell you, babe, like, I was just
Hmm.
at that time. You can just imagine somebody that does not have anything in the bank at all and their bills are
Mhm.
due. They don't know how to pay it.
True.
My sister, it humbled me. I'm not gonna lie to you. It humbled me. Now, if I want to buy something, if I see a bag I want, I'm like, are you sure you need it? Because before the bank say somebody don't hack your account again.
Hmm.
I had to open another bank in case this will never happen again. I had to divide savings, divide because my girl, I was struggling for 3 months. When I tell you, I could not, I have locks. I could not get my locks done. I could not get my feet done. I couldn't do maintenance on myself for
Hmm.
3 months, yo. It's that's the thing when people say I laugh when people say that, oh, America, you have it easy. No, everybody is a mental breakdown away from being in the mental institution. That's why when I sometimes when my friends, they weren't successful, the ones that are doctors, lawyers, they call and they just start crying. We could be on the phone for 5 hours and they are crying. I will accept it because I will be their therapist for free because everybody, even the most successful, is a mental breakdown away, a mental case away. Like imagine going to work and somebody killed their child because she didn't want that child that day, and you have to represent them.
Hmm.
These are the issues. So Jalo Perry did a good job because that woman did not want to believe that her child died. She did
True.
not want to believe that her child died. She wanted to keep the memory that that day did not happen. But it's called
Hmm.
an illusion. Sometimes you have to, when they say Dululu is a Solulu, sometimes you have to be Dululu in order because let me tell you, that girl, my dear, the other day I had a mental breakdown because I did a favor for somebody. I carried them to the airport from Washington, D.C. to Maryland. My girl, they gave me a $600 ticket.
Hmm.
Ticket that you did not plan for. $600.
That's a lot.
They now told me, pay you are late. I said, no go better for you, ma'am. How am I late? I did not know about the ticket. They even added fees to it.
Hmm.
Something that you don't understand, something you did not plan for. And you already had tickets before. I'm not gonna lie, I drive like a hoodlum. I already had tickets before. So now if I want to drop money for ticket, it's $1,000. And I'm supposed to be like, oh, okay, I'm having a blessed day. No. Anybody's that that's the thing. I feel like in this world, give people grace. When you see a mad person, don't think where it's just spiritual issues. Or some people actually have mental breakdown that they end up going to the mental institution because some people cannot handle it.
True.
People failed. Let me tell you, that's another angle because I want Mr. A to talk. People failed Jeanette. Let me tell you, you people are praising. They failed her because the thing is that once somebody realized that that child died, they should have carried her jejely to the mental institution.
Hmm.
They watched her. They watched her. They watched her go about her day like nothing happened. She's trying to get that $40. I've never been more upset about $40. I'm like, you should come and ask me. I would have given it to you.
That $40 thing was so annoying. Like, how
But
much?
my sister, they pay me 15, 16. I was like, I would have wrote you a check for that, baby. Like, no, but this is a reality, which is why sometimes, I mean, sometimes some people started doing this in America. They would take money, they would take it and go to the store, put it in diapers, because they know that single mothers will need it.
Hmm.
It's not easy. That is why I'm telling people. I tell my friends, protect your womb very well. Do not marry useless, and do not marry a man that wants to be a single father. He wants to be single but be married at the same time, because to raise a kid is hard.
It
To
is.
raise a kid is hard. Then to not be doing it alone.
Mm-hmm.
I have a coworker because me, I like to ask questions. A former coworker. I said, baby, because I see that she's a single mother and she's like 40 something and her child is like my age. I'm like, what happened? I'm like, how you single? Because we're friends now. She was just like, oh. She was like, I never wanted to have a kid though. I said, so how did you get one kid? She was just like, okay. So she was like, this is what happened. She was like, I had a boyfriend. We were dating for like 10 plus years. And she was just like, we dated him for 10 years. And what's it called, that he I dated him for 10 years, and he wanted a kid by her, but she was like, I don't want kids. So she made a promise to him that if you never have kids in this life, if you don't have one child in this life, I will give you one. But she was like, I knew that I was deceiving myself because he already had a kid. My girl, let's be watching what we say, because that man wants to go and do DNA test because his baby mother took him to court. Come to find out, that child was never his.
Hmm.
So she decided to
Oh,
follow
no.
through and give him a child. My dear, she said as soon as she gave him a child, he became a deadbeat. He does not talk to the child, does not do anything, does not relate. So she became a single mother after uncle begged her for a kid. He know they see the kid. He know they talk to the kid. He know they do anything. Sometimes, even though we work in the same place, sometimes I will look at her, be like, yo, your hair needs to be done. She's like, I don't have the money. I used to give her 200. I'd be like, yo, go get your hair done, because it's not easy. You know that Nigeria, we have a village. These people don't have villages.
They don't.
Some
They
of them, their
don't.
mother and father are on drugs. They don't like them. They want to kill. Some of them are in prison. Some people have never even met their father before.
True.
But Tyler Perry did a great job.
Yeah.
And the biggest plot trick was that the girl was already dead because she wanted to be delusional. And I approved it because, trust me, it would have been bad if this girl went on a killing spree and started killing everybody that offended her that day.
True.
Because sometimes
True.
I'm not gonna lie, my dear. I went to the gun range 2 years ago because I was like, I would never carry gun. My dear, when I was shooting, the man was just like, are you sure you're not a police officer? I said no, but I was shooting my enemy, so I can see I can see it was a rush. As soon as she got that gun, you saw that she shot the manager, she shot the robber because it needed to happen. That was the big one that she did. She did her big one. But then she still went to jail last. It was a tragic ending, but we kind of, if she had a good ending, it would have been unrealistic.
True. True. All right.
But
Thank you so much, Pray.
let everybody else
Thank
talk,
you so
love.
much.
I'll come back
Yeah.
later.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing. Let's speak with Mr. A. Mr. A, you're welcome to the conversation.
Hey, hi Glory, how are you?
Fine. You're welcome. How are you?
Yeah, yeah, not bad, not bad.
Good to be here.
Yeah, straw. Wow, what can I say? I mean, I must admit, I think I was actually like you. I kind of gave up on Tyler Perry's, movies.
Mm.
After he was bringing out one after the other, which to me probably didn't even actually make sense. Then I watched his last series he brought out.
Beauty
Was
in
it
Black.
Beauty in Black? Oh my gosh. I think the very first five episodes was great. And then afterwards,
Mm.
I started getting annoyed by the acting and, this constant, it was just so fake, it was just like, I was like, oh my gosh, come on, Tyler. And then this movie came out as like, okay, you know what? Let me just go ahead and just watch it. If halfway because bad acting, I'll probably just shut it off. And then I was amazed by it, and I was like, I have to give kudos to him because it reminded me of Acrimony, and I love that movie.
Hmm.
Acrimony was one of my best movies from Thailand, and for me, I still rate Acrimony as the number one, and
Yeah,
this would follow next week, and I've got to give it to him. He really did well, with this movie. But I
true.
mean, I've got some questions, and
Okay.
I don't know how to actually answer this. Okay, I'll probably put it to you. You might be able to answer this. Now,
Okay.
how do we know that the scene of the police officer harassing the lady was actually real, or whether she wasn't actually imagining it, as with other sequence of events?
Hmm. So I think that's a simple one. I think that's a simple one because remember, whilst all of those things were happening, right? And she said she wasn't going to get out of the bank, except they removed the police officer that was waiting outside to gun her down. Remember, the police, that's the female police officer, she did her own findings. She, together with her partner, they did their own research and they discovered that indeed that whole car towing incident actually happened. So I think if it did not happen, they wouldn't have removed that man from the scene outside. So I think it really happened.
Okay, I mean, if it really did happen, fair game. But with all what she's been going through, how can you actually excuse her for all the other stuff, i.e., coming into the supermarket and acting obviously, going to school, still taking our kids to school, that scene to me, as okay, the scene that didn't actually make sense to me was there was a scene where um she went to school. She opened the car doors for her daughter to actually go, and then she waved to her her daughter. You know, that was one of the scenes that's okay. You know what? She's actually waving her daughter saying bye, and the headmistress or the principal or whatever, she was just looking at us strange and saying, "What's wrong with you? Are you okay?" Or it's like, "What are you doing here?" And then I think when she finally got that $40 or whatever, she wanted to actually, come and pay because the school called her to say, she's there's no $40 to actually feed her kid. When she got there and she was actually talking, and then they took they were taking her daughter away. And you see, that scene to me didn't actually make sense because in a way, probably in her mind, she was actually interacting with or feeling that, oh, this is what actually happened. She was like,
Mhm.
oh, why didn't you not call me? But the lady was actually the principal was actually saying, we already, called you, this is happening once, too many times now. So we had to copy because we're showing concern, to social services, and social services has to do their findings or whatever, and take the daughter away. And she was like, at that point in time, she was broken, you know. So for me, it's you've got that whole scene there, which is to us is real. I mean, eventually we
Mhm.
found that it wasn't real, but at that point in time, it was real. Yeah.
Mhm.
So at that point in time, if that was real, you being that person, and you now went out, you start driving, you got hit by a policeman, you start interacting with, how is that also real? If you see what I mean? Because I mean, all those events, they look real. Yeah. They look real. I can actually understand where you're coming from, whereby you're saying the lady did her investigations and stuff like that. But how I felt in a way where they really messed up was they should have actually also made that scene not real. Because to me, it's like you're excusing one part of what she did, yeah, and not excusing the other part. Because if she's actually now complaining about the kids, obviously her kids is not there, but she's still going to school and stuff like that, and then, and that scene is not real. Felt like
So,
Tyler should have made that other scene of hitting the police, the policeman also not being real, if you see what I mean.
okay, so Mr. A, I see what you mean, honestly, but personally, I think I think what Tyler Perry did with those scenarios was a very creative and beautiful way to portray hallucination, just like Jay just commented. That was a beautiful way of portraying someone that was operating in an hallucination. And hallucination is something that is very common with people that are mentally and emotionally unstable. They see what they want to see, right? It's also a state of delusion. They see what they want to see, they accept what they want to accept, they believe what they want to believe. And you see, hallucination happens a lot with people that are bereaved, right? I mean, I've seen cases like that a lot. When my mom lost my brother, she was so she was so gone that there were times that we would catch her hallucinating. Like she would be talking to thin air and she's literally asking my brother, "What happened to you? Come and sit close to me. Come and tell me what happened to you." Because that was her first son. Last week I shared a story about how my mom was persecuted by my dad's family for so long because she had three female children and then she did not have a boy child. So when she finally had a boy child, it was like her life was complete, her life was better. So people that are bereaved, once there is that mental breakdown, once they experience that, they go into that state of hallucination. It's like you are creating what does not exist, but for you, it is your own reality. So I think that was a beautiful way of Tyler Perry really trying to portray to us that this woman is refusing to accept that she lost her daughter the previous night. So for her, it's their morning routine. They wake up in the morning, she wakes up her daughter from bed, takes her daughter to the bathtub, bathes her, assures her that she's doing all she can to take care of her daughter and provide for her lunch money. From the way the movie played out, right? You can tell that it's their morning routine, right? And then they go to school, she drops her off. There's the neighbor that's always outside waiting for arms. She helps the man. It's like a morning routine type of situation. And then she went to school. And I think it was the end that it made sense why the school principal was shocked when the woman saw her, outside the school, opening the car door. It meant that what we did not know at the time was something the principal knew, that, okay, this woman opened the car door and was speaking to thin air, telling the daughter, "Oh, all right, baby, I'll see you later." There was no baby there. I don't know if you get me.
Yeah, yeah,
So
I get you.
for Janaya, our daughter is still alive. There's nothing wrong with whatever. Our daughter is fine. But the school principal knew. So that scenario of her going back to the school to check on her daughter, I feel like it's something that has probably happened before, that she could not afford $40 for her daughter's lunch. Because if you remember from the very beginning, when she was beating her daughter at home, the daughter said, "Oh, they laugh at me in class." And I think she asked her, "Is your teacher aware?" She said yes. So for me, what I took from that was this is a recurring event. This woman has been struggling. She's not always able to provide lunch money for her daughter. So the daughter has to enroll in the free lunch program they have in school, right? So I think that was just a beautiful way to portray it. I did not really see it as confusing. And I think it made sense because for someone that is not in a right frame of mind, you went back to your daughter's school, in quotes, in all of our hallucination, childcare services, they came, took her daughter away. So for her, I need to go back to work. I need to go and work. I need to also get my check. So her driving with such frenzy and panic that she has just lost her daughter, right? Then she gets into that road rage situation with the white police officer. So I think that's even made the whole situation more real. That for someone that has just been bereaved, she's not in the right frame of mind, she could be detrimental to her own self and to people around her. And that was what we saw in the following event. I don't know if you understand.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I mean, basically, it could, you can have a mixture of real and unreal scenes in your head, happening at, to you at the same time. So you probably won't actually know what's real and what's actually unreal. Yeah, I can actually understand that, you know. Yeah, I mean, the thing is also another part of the scene which I actually found, I don't know, when the robbery actually happened, you know, I just want to know how did that actually just, the guy just came out from nowhere and he just started, had a look at her tag, they called her name and he started talking to her. Where did those guys come from?
Her name
Always,
tag.
no, no, no,
Her
no.
name
Yeah, a name
tag.
tag. Yeah, yeah. So he looked at her name tag and he called her by the name and he started talking to her like he knew her. I get that point. Where did those people come from? That was the
So
question.
Mr. A, I think it's also quite easy because remember it's a supermarket. You saw the crowd of people, very disrespectful bunch, very inconsiderate, very rude. They just come. Aren't you going to respond to me? Da, 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 da. You see that one that because they rejected the type of card he wanted to use, he carried a glass and smashed it very close to her leg, right? So that is the situation. The supermarket is rowdy. They get very uncouth people, very disrespectful, very rude, inconsiderate people. It gets very rowdy. So it is normal that for a supermarket that people frequent, you would definitely know the names of the attendants, especially if their name is hanging as a tag on their shirt. So I think it was quite easy for the robbers to, gain access. I mean, just like every robbery in such places happens, right? You just walk in there,
I
unbeknownst
don't.
to the cashier.
I don't think so because I've actually worked in those kind of supermarkets before, and in all honesty, what actually happens is you've got the shop front, and you actually walk into like where they keep all the stocks and stuff like that. So it's like completely different room, set of room, and then you probably got all the offices at the back, you know. So for me, it's like you need to go through a set of staff, clearance or whatever. And I think what's from what I actually saw, because when they were running away, it was right the back door. They actually ran away. They took off. So I saw them. They started. Sorry, the second person, he actually started running off. The minute the guns start firing, he went off via the back way. My question is, according to who opened the door, because they just came in. They just came in, and they started making accusations. Oh, looked at her tag name and she started, they started talking to her. And that's where the manager got frustrated, was like, yeah, so you know each other. Oh, you're the one who brought them to come and rob me. And that's when he started getting frustrated. But my question is, where exactly they come from? It just seems like they just appeared. Nobody actually opened the door for this. It's like they knew exactly where to come from. You see, that's what's actually going through my mind. Exactly where did they
So,
really come from?
so Mr. A, I'm not a professional robber, so I wouldn't know. But I have seen so many movies, and I also know of certain life situations where, just like NEJ wrote here, most robberies are not just random. That's the point. Most robberies are not just random. Before some robbers would execute an operation, I believe from a lot of movies I've watched and a lot of realistic experiences I've actually seen, I feel like they actually study a particular target that they have. They study and they look at, the loopholes. Okay, where are the weak areas that we can easily have access to? Blah blah blah. Like I said, I'm not a professional robber, so I don't know. Yeah, but I want to believe that those robbers, they are used to that supermarket. Hence the reason I said, if you go back to the movie, you look at the faces of the people in that supermarket. I'm not trying to stereotype them now, no, but I want to say that they are regulars there. So I want to also believe that those robbers, they're probably regulars, right? They are used to the place. They probably have studied the place and deciphered that, okay, they have a back door, they have this angle, they have that angle. And remember, Janaya went to her boss's office. It means that the door that she took was already open. It also means that she did not lock that door. So there's a possibility that that door that she entered through the supermarket was open for the robbers to have access to enter. And maybe their getaway plan was to go out through the back door. So that's the only explanation I can give. I cannot tell you that I know how they planned it. I beg. I'm not. I'm not
So
a
you just
professional. David, thank
you just
you. I'm not a professional.
you're not a professional robber. Are you sure, Glory?
Yeah, and I love what Jollywood is like. Jollywood said they must not open the door for them, Oga. They can push or break in. Exactly. Most robberies actually happen through breaking in. That's what they call it,
Anyway,
breaking,
anyway,
right? So
okay, yeah. I mean, you can actually say that. I mean, the final part of my kind of questions have actually got, obviously is when the FBI came in, and for me it was like, yeah, okay, the FBI is now taking control over the whole situation. I mean, looking at them, the kind of, for me, it's like the guy just felt like he just wanted to be in control. So he wasn't actually logically thinking, how am I going to really resolve this whole thing? Someone is already there. The other lady officer, she was already there trying to calm, Taraji's, character's nerve. Just trying to calm her nerves. But, the FBI decided that, no, you know what? I'm going to be, in charge. I'm going to take ownership. It's now an FBI case. So, we're going to jump in and do whatever we need. For me,
yeah.
that part of that, you know, I mean, Tyler should have better, he should have done a bit better on that script. But you
Why
know
do
what?
you think
It is what
so?
it is. Yeah,
Were
no,
you
because I mean,
expecting the FBI to show empathy? Because here's what I think here. Um, if you had watched my review, the video review I did about Straw, I had mentioned that the movie has a lot of similarities with Breaking. Breaking, still on Netflix, acted by John Boyega. And there's just a lot of similarities. The bank scene, a lot of similarities, storyline slightly similar, right? So what I was able to deduce from that, and also a couple of no, not a couple, but a lot more other movies too that I've watched where FBI takes over from state police, right? What I think they do is they allow the state police to take control of the situation, and they have like a specific time frame for them to resolve that situation. If it takes too long, then the FBI has to step in. And for them, they do whatever it takes to end the situation. At the end of the day, it is a matter of securing lives and properties of people around there, right? So if you are listening to the interaction between the FBI boss and the state police boss, he said it's been going on for over 12 hours. What are they discussing? So the FBI man felt like the negotiator, that's the black police woman, that she had too much empathy for Janaya. In other words, it's more like you are empowering her, you are allowing her the liberty to make demands, you are allowing her to call the shots. So for him, he felt like you've given her the power. And also, don't forget that they thought she had an explosive device, which she later told the bank staff that it was her daughter's science project. I don't know if you remember. So for
absolutely,
them,
I
it's a
remember.
very, yeah, for them, it's a very volatile situation. So what are you discussing? If you watch the movie Breaking, it's the same thing. The guy did not have an explosive device. They thought he had an explosive device. So for them, why are you negotiating with a terrorist? That was their own way of thinking for the FBI. And it was the same thing in Straw. You're negotiating with someone who is not just a robber but a terrorist. The person has an explosive device. So it was later when that's other bank staff lady, the one that was completely indifferent, when she put out that message that it's not an explosive device. The lady does not have an explosive. Yeah, that was when the FBI seemed to calm down a bit. If not, just like in breaking, the moment they communicated that, oh, the guy had an explosive device, they killed him. If you watch Bray, I'm sorry for giving you guys that crazy spoiler, but they killed him. And then after carrying his backpack and throwing it into the bomb diffuser van, they discovered that, oh, it wasn't an explosive device, you know. So I think Tyler Perry actually tried, and I'm just saying this as someone that does not really understand the American system that much, but having been able to see other movies that had similar situations, comparing all of them, I think he actually tried.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, thanks
Yeah.
for that. Thanks for answering my questions, Gloria. You've done well again.
Mhm. Thank
So
you.
I think you need to be reviewing more movies for us, so that we can, watch your movies and yeah, but it's
I'll
been
try.
great fun. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. A. I don't go and tell anybody that Gloria Elijah is a professional robber. I'm not.
I will actually, as a matter of fact, I'm actually going to be tweeting about it on my ex handle.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much
All
for your
right.
contribution. All right. Let's speak with Harley. Hello.
Hi, Glory. Hello, everyone. Good
You're
evening. How are
welcome.
you?
I'm
Thank you.
fine. You're welcome.
Like, you guys have already said everything. And when I was listening to Mr. E, right, I know that when I
Mm,
saw the movie, I think the next day when I was having my bath, I was asking myself those questions he was asking. But that was the
mm,
logical part of me that was asking those questions. So
yeah.
there are some times, when you're watching some kind of movies, like when you're watching a movie, sometimes you should take out the lesson. And we don't always have to be logical, right? About how it happened and everything. And then this story was more of a story about grief and hallucination. Hallucinations cannot always be explained. I don't know if you
True.
understand.
True.
I've never hallucinated, but I've stayed with someone that had malaria, like crazy malaria, and the person hallucinated. I was in the hospital with the person, and the way the person was like, and didn't you give me food? Didn't you already do this? And I was like, what are we talking about here? I was confused. And that was malaria. So imagine someone that loses someone, a child.
Mm.
It's not easy to explain like that. So now this movie Straw for me, right? I didn't cry. I don't know what's broken inside of me. I did not cry.
You're
That
okay.
yeah, but
Okay.
I felt it. Thank you. Thank you for reaffirming that I'm okay, because I was like, hey God, I couldn't even come out to tell my friends that I did not cry because they would be like, this your heart, that kind of thing. So I just kept quiet.
I know what you mean. Sometimes you feel like, am I the only one that's not normal? You're normal. Some people don't just shed
Exactly.
physical tears.
Exactly. So like when I saw the movie Straw, yeah, I didn't cry, but I took out a lot of lessons, like a lot. I could understand. I can't relate, but I could understand some things because I grew up with a single mom. My dad died when
Mm,
I was a month old, so I didn't know my
mm,
father, right?
whoa,
But I know of times where I saw, you know, as a child, I used to think my mom hated me
mm,
until I began to grow up and realize that, oh, it's stress, it's frustration. Life is
mm,
not easy. And she was still trying to provide us the best. I went to all private schools. It was just my university. I went to a federal university. And my mom
mm,
did all that. Like she made sure she did all that. Even when she took me to a secondary school that was a private secondary school, there were times the school fees was like crazy for her to afford. I remember her friend once told her that, Kuku cut your cloth according to your cut your clothes according to your cloth, right? Telling her that she wasn't supposed to have taken me to that school because she couldn't afford the school. But my mom was intentional about the schools her children were going to go to. Do you understand? And
Mm-hmm.
every day I'm grateful to my mom. I graduated from the university with very good grades and all of that. And I keep telling everyone, this girl you're seeing right here is all to the testimony of God and how my mom was really trying her best and all. Now,
Mm-hmm.
this movie, Straw, right, is about grief. You don't tell people how to grieve. There are people that
Sure.
grieve in silence. There are people that will cry. There are people that don't even know what's happening. They will just be in
Mm-hmm.
shock for a very long time. Maybe it's one
Sure.
day it will not hit them, right? I'm that person. I'm the kind that my half sister died, someone I loved so much. I was literally taking care of this woman. And the day they told me she died, right? I was in shock. I could not cry. I'm usually not the person that will cry first. The day I will cry,
Oh.
you'll be shocked. You'll not be wondering, is it not something we told you like how many weeks ago? Is now you're crying.
Mm.
You don't tell
Mm.
people when to grieve, how to grieve.
Sure.
Even them themselves don't know how they grieve. It comes in different ways. This one's own came in
Sure.
hallucination and she didn't even know. Like
Mm-hmm.
she had no idea. Some people, when they are grieving, they pour so much into their work. They will be showing up, working so hard,
Absolutely.
putting themselves, their efforts, everything. It's because they are running away from what they don't want to experience.
True. True.
It comes in different ways. So even this show, I think of days like I'm sure everybody has had those very crazy days. This movie reminded me of Pursuit of Happiness. That was a movie that really, really touched me as a child. What's his name? Will Smith. And he had his son. I think he had acted the movie with his son, Jaden,
Oh
as at
yes,
that time.
pursuit of happiness. Yeah.
Thank you. And hey, life is crazy. Do you know there are times you will just be doing everything possible? You are actually doing the right things. But life is not just lifing. There are
True.
days in your life that everything will just be annoying. It will just like it's almost like the devil just sent all his agents that day, Sha, to look for your trouble. And that was the day
Mm-hmm.
this lady had, right? So many
Mm-hmm.
things were just happening at the same time, in the same day, sending her out
Mm-hmm.
this one, all in her imaginations, but it felt so real to her. But they were happening. Imagine having a very frustrating day, and then a police officer threatens that he's going to kill you, and there's nothing that will
Mm-hmm.
happen. Then they will
Mm-hmm.
now still issue you a ticket. You, as the woman, you saw when this lady told her you that, oh, please, oh, this guy, he's threatening me. You saw everything. You couldn't even have pity on her. You were still issuing her a ticket. Like, what
Mm-hmm.
is it? There are some days you'll be like, am I the am I the one that God hates the most? But that's
True.
times and seasons. There are another days that things just go smoothly, things just go easy. It's actually not easy. Now, one
Mm-hmm.
thing I picked out from this movie, Straw, is when I meet people like in Nigeria and they'll tell you, why are you crying? You are crying too much. Be a man. Be strong. This small thing, you are crying. I'm like, really? Hey, God. I'm like, really? I remember one time when I was small, I went to visit someone that lost his dad. Up to today, I don't know how to greet people when they lose someone. I'm usually quiet because I feel that I will be there for you. I will sit down there. Anything you want, I will make sure I provide it. I'll make sure
Mm.
you have your bath at least, even if you don't feel like I will try to just see how to keep you going. You need that company, you need someone around you. But I'll not go and be saying, ah, God knows best, God's time is the best, what we know. God knows best. Some people even tell you that you will reunite with them at the last day. Calm down. I know. I know.
When
But for
you're
now,
dreaming
can
and
I,
you're angry.
I'm telling you, you feel just compound your anger. Like, damn. Let me tell you, there was one time I said when I was younger, we went to greet somebody, and then as everybody was not greeting me, my coco no na, and I said, ah, his dad died though, and I said, at least now you are part of us, you are part of our society. So because I was really young, it made them all laugh. But I know as an adult, I'm not supposed to say that now. But I just finished primary school, so I said it's based on we are both in this together kind of. But I know not to ever say it now. But grief, no, grief is not the easiest thing. And then one thing I noticed about this movie is Straw, right? You know, our generation, everybody's telling you, Andrew Tate, you listen to Andrew Tate. Walk alone. You are a lion. Stay alone. Be alone. Everybody is forming. I can do alone. I don't need anybody. Kinikon, kinikon. I'm alone now. I am going to the top alone. Me that I'm talking, I'm also alone now. Don't get me wrong. But then one thing I noticed, she didn't really have a community, like a strong community. Even her mom wasn't there after she lost her child. Where was her mom?
True.
Why didn't her mom come to her house? Why didn't her mom come and carry her from her house to her house or stay with her? She didn't have, she was not talking. It was like a life, a world of she and her daughter, right?
Mm.
She felt, it almost felt like, and hey God, I don't know how to say it. It's like that's what the world is trying to sell to us every day by separating us from the real people around us. We're always on social media. We only trust people on social
True.
media. We're talking to, honestly, I know that it's not easy to trust people, though, but true, if you have family members you can trust, your mother, if you have your mom that is still here or your dad that is still here, be you a man, be you a woman, if you have that friend that at least you can, you see that thing that they used to say, a problem shared is a problem solved. Voila, you don't know who you are
Mhm.
sharing some of your problems to. I did not say you should go around and be telling everybody what you are going through, how you are, and being whining and whining. But honestly, you need to talk. Like you actually need to open your mouth and talk, or let people into your world just a little bit. Like just a little bit. I have an elder sister that I call almost at any small inconvenience like this. I give God the glory. I don't have so many siblings. She's the only one I have. But I give God the glory for her. She has her own family. Oh. Sometimes, even if I want, when I want to call her and tell her some things, I'm always feeling like, hey God, I beg go. Hope I'm not telling her too much. Hope I'm not stressing her and everything. But that's life. You need somebody. In fact, these days I
Mm.
even heard that people are now talking to Chat GPT as boyfriend. Ha! Hey God, I beg go. People don't now give it a prompt, be my best friend. Let's talk. Relate to me like my best friend. I even had one therapist, I think Confessions of a Therapist or something, and she was like, and that one of the things she hates is when a client comes in and she's telling the client what to do, or maybe advising the client, or like they're talking. Then they'll say, yeah, ChatGPT also told me the same thing. Eh? Hmm. I'm
Oh my
telling you.
God.
We are one thing I noticed with, and you know, but when she now started talking, even when we feel like people are not listening, when she started talking, do you know the crowd? When she went on, that lady put her on live. See how many people
Mm.
resonated. See how many people were listening to her. I know that you feel that your story is the most um confusing. It's not the nicest story. Nobody wants
Mm.
to listen to you. But did you hear people? Even this Ifunaya story that went around. I'm sure she just did the first batch of the story, and she didn't even think most of us were going to be on her page. And see the crowd she has drawn to her TikTok page just because of that story. You don't know. I'm not saying you should go around though. I don't even know how to tell you. But I'm not saying you should go around and be telling everybody everything that is wrong with you. But honestly, you need to you need to talk. You need people to trust. You
Mm.
need people to trust. The other day I was listening to I said what I said, and Jola was like, "Oh, there are some girls, some people in general, they'll be forming introverts. Even when you go for a house party, I was stung because I'm that girl. I'm that girl that they were talking about. You go for a house party and you just sit at one corner from the beginning to the end. You do not talk to anybody, and you're already on your way home. Okay, what did you now come and do? They will say, wait after church, greet people, greet brethren. You have moved forward. You're not making friends, you're not making contact, you're not talking to anyone. And a lot of single moms have that thing. They just make their child their best friend, their everything, and keep pouring so much emotions into that child. Sometimes mine is even too much for the child to bear. But that one is just for another deal. Let me know over drag this thing. And then
Okay.
I liked how Tyler Perry ended this movie like with two different scenarios. One, it seemed as if society didn't listen to her and they killed her, right? So it seemed like, oh, that was the end. Nobody was going to listen to her at the end of the day. Sha, no matter how you talk and talk and talk, nobody would listen to you, and it seemed like she died. Then the second one was when she found trust even in the banker. The banker knew
Mm,
that her daughter was dead, like since, so, but the banker was not. She was still going with the flow. She was not
mm,
saying her, oh, my dear, you are grieving now. Stop this, rest now. Like, she wasn't doing that. She was still going with the flow. People can be really like, we should be kind to people, though. Like all these people we see sweeping on our streets. Say well done, good morning. You should be kind to people. There's that your office assistant that every day you see him going up and out. Where don't boss, where don't chief, where don't boss, where don't chief. You don't know what he's going through at home. Once in a while, how are you? I know say you should carry people's problem and put on your head, but once in a while, one small 2K take, one small 5K take. You don't know. You don't know. You see people on the road, you don't know. Be kind to people. You go to ShopRite, you want to buy small something because you have small change in your pocket. You now throw the money as the person. Please, I'm in a hurry. I'm in a hurry. Haba, haba. You don't know what your
mm,
small niceness will do that day. Well, see, eh, this movie is straw, right? I took out
mhm.
more lessons than trying to be logical about it, honestly.
Yeah,
And if you really want to enjoy a movie like that, just pick out lessons. Like, actually pick
so
out the real, what he's trying to pass, what message he's trying to pass. No,
so,
if you are being too logical, yeah, you over dissect the movie, and you know Tyler Perry now, you always find problem inside the film. But if you want to, yes, now that one day. But if we're being honest, just take out the lessons, and you will even find some of these things are reflecting in your own life. Do you get? So
mm.
that's all I have to say about the movie Straw, honestly.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Harley. And I
Yeah,
totally agree
most
with you. Taking out the lessons is more important than trying to make sense out of the cinematic experience, right?
yes,
And
exactly.
you mentioned about how you love the way he ended the movie. I want to add to
Yes.
that everybody needs to also watch Breaking on Netflix,
Okay.
because when you watch that movie, then you will understand why Tyler Perry gave the two types of ending that Straw had. And
Mm,
personally, I think Tyler Perry used Straw to give a perfect ending to the movie Breaking, because the movie
breaking.
Breaking is actually a true life story. It's a true life story. And the man was killed in the movie, and the follow write up that came after the end of the movie, that's the postscript, as they call it, says that even till date, the the part of the government, the US government, that's in charge of the rights that the man was fighting for, they never gave it to him, they never gave it to his family, they just
Come
died the
on.
case like that. Yes, and there are thousands of war veterans that are actually going through the same issue that the guy was actually fighting for. So I think
Mm,
what Tyler Perry did with Straw was to give a perfect ending, like how society should have best handled that real
this
life
case.
situation of that guy. So I
Mm,
think everybody should also watch Breaking. Then they will really understand the endings. So thank you so much,
thank
Harley.
you
Thank you
so
so
much.
much.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. Let's speak with Ovi. Ovi, you're welcome. How are you?
I'm fine. Greetings to you, Gloria. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Welcome.
Hello.
Welcome to the
Oh,
conversation.
yes, yes. It's. I'm very happy to be here, and thank you for doing this constantly. Please don't stop. Oh. You know,
I'm trying.
in our place they say it becomes small until it becomes big. So
Yeah.
at some point it will be bigger than it will be as big as
Yes.
the audience of what is it called, Big Brother Ninja.
Big brother.
So,
Yes.
but whenever I see all these updates, I'm very happy, and especially you're bringing important topics, so it's really good.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Yeah.
well, like the previous lady spoke, I think the most important is to take some of the lessons. And the man who spoke before, I think he went the direction of, analyzing the movie and all that, which is also part of the topic. There's nothing wrong with that. But
True.
I feel like, yeah, I feel like I will also look at it more of in the way of, just some of the lessons. And
Mhm.
because these are things that this is a real life, like you mentioned, real life. So it's a real life
Mhm.
thing, although they kind of twist it. But I feel like I know sometimes the movie people, the producers will kind of make it not look exactly like, maybe that's why they portrayed it as a story from the woman's side. But it's also important to point out that, okay, if the original story was an experience of some man, because to be honest with you, uh, I've seen a lot of men break down and lose it over financial difficulties and just the stress of the pressure. And it's not just a gender thing, because imagine if it's like that for some men. So imagine how it will be for a lady taking care of a child and doing all that. But the point is that it should not be seen as a gender, because we live in such a gender polarized world nowadays, where there's a lot of some people say sisterhood, some people say brotherhood. So everybody is trying to.
Mhm.
So I feel like we just look at it as a human thing, and we are all supposed to look at it as some of the things that people are going through, and some ways that the system is not favor some, in some ways the things people need to contend with in the system. And
True.
yeah, yeah. So, and the lady did what's the name, Taraji P,
Taraji.
she acted, she really tried, because you would think she was, you might think she's really like that because of the way she acted. She was very convincing. I think she's a great good actor. She's a very great actor.
She is.
Her own, yeah, 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 in her own personal spiritual, I think I've seen her involving in some spiritual stuff I'm not a fan of. I will never be part of. But I think professionally, the way she acts, she's acting, she's acting well. And for the most part, though, because I'm not been following all her works, but for the ones I've seen. So I would rather say the lesson that I think I took from it is just the continuation of people trying to come together. Like the society, the world we are living in now is increasingly becoming, um, you know, everything is more tight, kind of. And the rich is getting richer, the
True.
poor is getting poorer in a lot of
Mhm.
ways. So if you find yourself uh, in the middle, you should be able to now make sure that you never slip into the you don't go down to the lower side. And I feel like the way I would look at it, it will be different from the way some other people will look at this, whole thing. But me, I will look at it in a way of, we as human beings need to understand that we can only, that we are supposed to be uh, allies, especially as regards to relationship and marriage. Because I don't know how the I don't think I didn't watch that movie to the end, to be honest. But I stopped at the place where I stopped. Actually, was where the in the bank, and the whole thing that was going on there, and that will, at some point I forwarded some parts, because to be honest,
Mm.
I'm more interested in I like the story. I like the story, and that's why one of the reasons Nigerian movies are very big in Africa and even beyond the Caribbean, in Asia. I don't know, even I don't think Nigerians know. I mean, most
Mm.
Nigerians know how big Nigerian movie is. Nigeria, the Nollywood outside Nigeria. For someone like me that is familiar with a few African countries, I can tell you that a lot of people watch Nollywood like religiously.
Mm-hmm.
You will be surprised. Like they watch it, and that's because as much as it's not coming like Hollywood, seeing that there's somebody flying from the sky, descending like Superman, all those effects is not there. And people
Mm.
think, I think some of the things that the young mind, or you kind of think that that's what makes a great movie. But there are two ways to look at movie: something that relates directly to you, or something that puts you in a fantasy state, like, make your imagination run wild in terms of how alternate kind of world, and all these kind of effects, right? So the Tyler Perry, I think most of his movies is directed in that kind of Nollywood frame. Not, of course, we're not saying it's the same, even in terms of quality and all that, but it's kind of in that way of stories. Is it life stories, relatable stories, something that you can just look at and say, okay, there's somebody I know that had similar situation. Obviously, you can't look at what's the name? Maybe like, is it Marvel Avengers and Thanos? You can't say, "Oh, I remember there's a guy in my compound that is Thanos." You know, so obviously, so that's like more of imagination. And as much as it's impressive, a lot of people would, especially in the family setting, and just regular people, would rather something that they can relate to. So that's how I see the whole thing, and that's why I really like some of those movies, and I don't really care so much about uh, too much, you know, it's screen effects and all that. So and back to the Nigerian movie thing, a lot of the movies that we people see, you can tell that they're happening. Yeah, some of the things that people are seeing in the movies, you can tell they are happening in people's real life.
True.
I was in an African country for a few years, maybe like a couple of years, and I saw how much people were really so much into they call it they call it Niger cinema or something like that. So that's what they call Nollywood, and they all
Mm.
look at, they watch it, they love it because it's things relating to them. They're so much invested in it. You see families, and I saw recently even in Jamaica. Do you know that Nollywood is big in Jamaica?
Wow.
That's
I had no
yeah,
idea.
that's the truth. But because Nollywood, maybe people think it's just the Afrobeat is also pushing Nigerian culture out there. But before Afrobeat, it's Nollywood, and Nollywood is more, people spend more time watching movies than listening to songs, right? But
Mm.
yeah, and I think the main lesson, so that I don't go too much out of the point, is, you know as much as that movie is careful, is portraying this experience, this sad experience of delusion and all that, it's also important that we understand that men and women should be allies. And because she's a single mother, right? I
Yes.
think that is how. Yeah, she was a single mother, and I feel like two, if you have a two-parent household, things becomes easy. Of course, you
Mm.
still have challenges. No, no, like I'm talking
Yeah.
about in terms of financial. I know there are all those other
Yeah.
issues, uh, but I'm talking in terms of maybe the finances, and trying to come together and create
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
But the point is not even to just say that things will be easy. The point is that people should be able to work together, for them not to get to the point where one parent will be left to struggle like that,
True.
especially
True.
as a single mother on our own, because it becomes tedious, you know. So, and I feel like in this world that is becoming increasingly polarized, and people pushing out narratives, and that's why I feel like even people that maybe media people and all that they also have a huge role to play, because as much as some people want to jump on a bandwagon, or like a wave of something, it's also important to be positively constructive of how we want people. We should be able to put positive messages out there, because we cannot continue to polarize our world. And I feel like women and men are meant to be allies, not adversaries. That's just how it's supposed to be naturally. And
True.
it's not about pointing that these people is better. This is the fault of the men, is the fault of the women. it Everything should be put in context, and also should be addressed the way it is. Someone should not be a on a hill. Is it, what do they call it, that that no matter what happens, you will always look for how to support the woman, because maybe 1 out of 10, it can be 1 out of even 50 cases, you'll find that maybe the man is the one that was did wrong. The same way, for the other side also, a man should not just be like, oh, women are like that, because a lot of the time you find out that maybe the man is the one that is wrong. So I just feel like everybody should not choose like one side that will say they will never budge to. It's just about addressing everything the way it is, and to be kind of constructive, critical of
Mm.
anything you see out there. And so that's basically the lesson I took from that, is just, uh, no, we need to build a stronger family unit as a society. And we need to be intentional with that, and also always putting the child first in some of
Yes.
the decisions that we make, because if you understand that your child's future is at stake, you might say, oh, it doesn't, maybe the child will adapt and all that, but you never know, and things can become somehow. So I feel like everybody deserves a supportive kind of both parents. So that's
Absolutely.
basically how what I took out from the movie.
Yeah. Yeah. That is really apt, Ovi, and I totally agree with you. And I appreciate you for raising that point, because whilst you were speaking, my mind just quickly, flipped to um Janaya's boss at the supermarket. You know what you said about the genders should learn to be allies other than adversaries, And I think it boils into the same question I was asking earlier, that what stopped the boss from just paying her a check? Fine, as a boss, you were playing your role, right? You felt like she was not really delivering on what she was meant to deliver on the job. So if you're going to let her go, pay her off, because she clearly explained that she had these situations. She needed to go to her daughter's school, drop money for lunch. She needed to pay her rent. Just give her money. So why just deliberately decide to be the stumbling block in all this man was trying to achieve for that day? So it was just
In
really
in
painful to
fact,
watch.
yeah, in fact, that boss thing, I'm sure that man, after that, playing that role, when he watches the movie, I'm sure he's not gonna like the role he played at all. Because I saw that part actually, and in fact, that's the first time I'm like, no, I knew she was going to get into a very, a deeper trouble if she does something crazy. But I'm just like, just pull this thing on this man. That man was just so annoying to watch,
Yeah.
That man was so annoying, because I saw like he didn't want her to breathe. So it was,
Yeah.
and to be honest, I know it was kind of exaggerated, kind of, but there are some people that are that insensitive and heartless, and it's so sad. It's so sad, and I feel like
Yes.
uh, I feel like even the thing of sometimes you wonder why people don't feel mercy on robbers. Because when you see a woman in that state, even explaining to you, sometimes I feel like if a woman drags something with you as a man, as long as it's something you can do without, right? And it's not, you can just leave it. Because I saw in
Mhm.
that part where she was really struggling with the robber. I know it's a movie, but some of these things happen in real life. And at some point, the robber was also fighting her, trying to get, until she had to pull the
Mm.
trigger. But the thing is, it shouldn't get to that point where you allow somebody go into that level of frustration. And don't forget also, for people that like doing, I think in fact the Tyler Perry was brilliant with some of the things that he put in that movie, because for people now that want to be that want to bring out their this gender whatever angle, don't forget that the landlord was is a landlady.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah. Don't forget that she was a
Mm.
landlady, screaming on top of her in the, and all that, showing her the most kind of inhumane treatment.
Hmm.
So we need to. That's why sometimes I say it's easier for people to just jump on a bandwagon. But sometimes if we bring out our thinking, is it thinking hats or thinking caps? If we bring out, if we look at things critically, then we understand that it's not about man versus woman or woman versus man, but
Mhm.
it's about good versus evil. It's about darkness versus light. So we need
Okay.
to, yes,
Yeah. Thank you so much for even bringing back the landlord, which
yeah,
obviously is a woman, the landlord's role. Because you see, that part was quite shocking as well. Because remember,
mm,
right? She, at the end of the movie, where the mom disclosed that she had actually lost the child the night before. Remember, this when Talapari was now re-showing that morning scene, the eviction notice was still there. So it was making me wonder, like, did she receive the eviction notice before the daughter died, or was it something that happened that morning? Because that scene where the landlord threw out her things, I don't think that was actually her still hallucinating, because when the police officers were talking about all the events of the day that she had been through, all those things actually happened. So it made me wonder, was this landlady so heartless that obviously you would have known? Okay, let's just not give her the benefit of doubt that she did not know that this woman lost her child. But you could also see that when the woman was leaving her house that morning and was speaking to the invisible child, the landlady saw her. So why did she now go ahead? Like, she knew that there was something wrong. So why did she now go ahead to throw these woman's things out of the house, put it out in the rain? So that part was also really triggering.
yeah. That's the part that I think some people might have missed, but is also there, because you expect that as a woman she
Mhm.
understands how difficult it is to to survive and take care of a child, and also being
Mhm.
that you think that okay, she'll give the lady some grace, and but uh unfortunately that's why I tell you that evil is evil and good is good
Yeah,
sometimes. So that's
true.
why it's very important for people not to just automatically stand on something, and unless they probably think about it, and you know
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so
All
much
right,
for your contribution. Very, very
thank you,
valid point raised there. Thank you. I really appreciate.
thank you so much.
Okay. All right. Okay, guys. I don't know if there's anybody else that wants to share anything or contribute to the conversation, but basically, that is all that I have to say. Yeah. I already put out a video already. So today's conversation was just add more flesh to the conversation. And I'm glad we actually did. And for those of you that are yet to watch the movie, listen, here's what I would suggest to you all. When you go onto Netflix, first of all, before you watch Straw, watch the movie Breaking before you watch Straw. So when you watch Breaking and then watch Straw, trust me, I think you will then understand what was really going on in Straw, and then you'll be able to see the movie Straw from the perspective of the genders, from a male gender and from a female gender. Trust me, you would really enjoy the viewing experience. All right. Okay, so I think we have somebody that wants to speak. But yes, so there's David here. David, hi, you're welcome. How are you?
Hey, hi. Hi, how's it going?
Good, good. You're welcome.
Full Day. Great movie. I know that there's a. I know lots of people have their problems with Tyler outside of the movie. I guess I should start there. So
Okay.
the the criticisms, the critics of Tyler Perry, right? What they fail
Yeah.
to understand is he has his own audience.
Yes.
So he has the kind of people that listen to his watches his movies. So for example, let's use uh Bollywood. So let's use Bollywood, right? The Indian movies, right? So they have their own audience, the same way Latin American movies, the telenovelas have their own audience.
True.
So even in the US, the African American population have it's diverse, and there are some people that love those kind of movies because they can relate to it.
Mm.
I think the most, if you go online, if you walk through, if you take a stroll through the streets of the internet, right? So social media and all that, I think most of the complaints you hear about Tyler is one is too prolific. The prolific here now is that he does lots of movies that um you ask yourself, is the quantity too much for the quality? Is churning out movies over and over and over again. So that's one of the criticisms they have for him. And then number two, the movies itself, they think it's just the black woman's. He is focused on the black woman, right? And
Mm.
not just is focused on the black woman. His focus on them does not do justice to how heterogeneous they are. So it's almost like, are they always on pulling the short end of the straw? Are they always the ones who are like carrying the entire family behind their back? Are they not successful black women that they can also talk about how they are doing well? For example, in this movie, right, there were three. I know you're laughing, but I'm just telling you what you see. Again, I don't believe it. I'm just saying what people are saying, right? Now, if you
Yeah.
look in this movie, right, the three main, yeah, there are three main black women in that story, right? So of course, Taraji, hence the main person, right? Taraji, and then the I forget her name now, the bank manager, the one who was like who had a good family and all that, and then the police officer, that's the one that was negotiating, right? Those are the
Yes.
three black females. There were other ones, for example, the very very an annoying black female in the bank who was, who I'm talking. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. The one that the younger
I know
lady,
that.
the one that was like very impatient, and she was like,
Yeah.
"What the hell is going on here?" Right? But
Yeah.
if you look at those three people I mentioned, right, their stories were not the same.
True.
One of them was very successful. She even
Mm-hmm.
literally, Taji had to ask her, "Why did you come and work in this bank?" And she said it
Mm.
was because, I mean, can we go ahead with spoilers, by the way? I don't want to put spoilers out
Please
for
go
anyone.
ahead.
Okay, yeah. So, and she said, she gave a reason more that we know happens, which is you want to give back to the society. Who, if she doesn't come back to a place that has a lot of blacks, which white person will come here? Yeah, Sherry Shepherd, that's her name. Yeah, who will come to
Mm.
this place to come and work? So it's the same story. Why in the U.S. historical black schools like Morehouse in Atlanta, or like Mahari College in Tennessee, those places, or like Howard University in D.C. Uh, those places, when they train black people, professionals, they try to make sure that they come back to the black community to give back. Because
Mm.
if your kind does not come back, I'm sorry, the other kind may not even show up there to help you guys. Let's put it that way. So that's one. So she's a successful. So the concept that Tyler Perry only shows the bad, like the black women that are at the bottom, is not really true. In that
True.
story, it showed all three, right? And then of
Yes.
course the story, the police officer, right? Again, I forget her name, but I know she's also very popular.
And Taylor.
Yeah, yeah, that lady, yeah, Taylor, right? She's her story is a very relatable story in the United States. So there are lots of single. She's also she was, if you remember when she was talking about a story, and the black man, the black male officer, initially he wasn't sympathetic to her. It wasn't
Yeah.
empathetic. It was almost like this is business. We gotta do what we gotta do and all that, right? But the moment he started heard a little bit about our story, he felt, oh, okay, it looks like I've been unfair to this lady. That
Yes.
story there is what many black females face at the workplace.
Hmm.
I'm choosing workplace for her now. So again, Tyler was I'm not in Tyler Perry's mind, but I'm telling you that it was in that short movie, it depicted lots of different parts of the lives that black Americans go through. Right.
Sure.
So for her, that's a professional who is being looked down at in a profession, not just from the whites, but even from black colleagues that you think
Hmm.
will have your back. I'm sorry. In fact, they may even be the worst when it comes to this office politics. Let's put it that way, right? Well,
Mm-hmm.
eventually, if you notice, the guy calmed down. He came to our side and all that. But why should you have to listen to a story for you to become open to your own kind? That's the question. For that
Mm-hmm.
guy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for Taraji Henson, the when you talk about grief, the stages of grief, and it's a misnomer, really. There's really no stages of grief. If
Hmm.
you, I mean, this concept of we have 5 stages of grief. You have, you have denial. After denial, you have anger. You're angry. After angry, you bargain. After bargaining, you get depressed. After depression, you accept. You accept the fact. Look at your story, your dad and your brother, right? There's no single formula that works for everyone, right?
No, at
Do
all.
you know some people will, the moment they hear bad news, they won't go through denial, and they'll go straight to depression. They're
Mm-hmm.
depressed, right? And so to make it look like that is the stages, and it's not even it's not a thing to me. It's what they teach in school, but it's really in real life. It's not a thing. Some
Mm-hmm.
people don't ever get out of it. You have to struggle. To the guys that spoke, some people that spoke before me about the cinematography, right? The
Hmm.
story, right? The issue that the movie portrayed, right? The drama behind it, the storyline, right? The storyline may be relatable. Another criticism of the movie that I've heard from the streets of the internet is that, is it really true that that same thing can happen to one person all day? Like, how can everything that happened to Taraji Henson, how can all that happen in you in 24 hours? Like, is that really
Hmm.
possible? How bad can your day be? The problem with that response, that it can happen.
It
There are
can.
people. See, there are people that have been found at the wrong place at the wrong time, and before they knew it, they put a handcuff in their hands. Before they knew, they're in front of a judge. Before they knew, they were
Mm-hmm.
in jail, and then
Mm-hmm.
it took them another like 2 or 3 years before they got out. Right? The guys that the guys in New York, New York, the 5 guys that were put in prison wrongly,
Oh
and that,
yeah.
do you know what I'm talking about? And then that they
Yeah.
found out that really they didn't do it after years.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how many people, the justice system, do you know how many people that go to jail when they're not supposed to go to jail? And then maybe 20 years down the road, they find out that, oh, this person is not supposed to be like that, right? Let me stop there. I don't want to digress. Back to the story, right?
Hmm.
It's you see, let me start by saying Taraji's acting as an actress, right? The performance is Oscar worthy. I mean, this is not because someone is a black person or something. You
Mm-hmm.
have to tell me, this is 2025. Tell me, I know we still have like 6 months to go, right? But tell me who
Mm-hmm.
has acted better, a female role in a movie that's acted better than that you saw in that movie. Like, you have to struggle to find one.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I'm gonna say it this way. It's like, I don't know, the movie called The Devil Wears Prada, right? The Devil's Wear
Yeah.
Prada. What's her name?
Marilyn
The lady, the main, the bad lady in that movie, the boss.
Marilyn Monroe. Is that her
Uh,
name?
no, no, no. It's no. It's she's like, she also did Margaret Thatcher. Geez, it's, I wish someone can help me out
Maybe I
here.
don't know her name, but I know the person you're talking about.
Sorry, what name did you call though? What name did you call? You said,
Marilyn Monroe. Is that her name?
no. It's not Marilyn Monroe. It's Meryl Streep. Meryl Streep.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Meryl
Oh
Streep, right? So if you
yeah.
see any of, you see, Meryl Streep is a fantastic actress. That's what I'm getting at. Like any of the movies she acts, it's almost clearly Oscar performance. That's what I'm saying. Taraji's performance was at that level too. So in all the criticisms of that movie, at least the performance is not being criticized. I'm not hearing that part of it, right? So we have to give her flowers for that, right? The story itself is relatable.
Mm-hmm.
No one should come around and say people don't go through those things. The issues about, oh, maybe you should have spoken about some parts of it, and I was listening to previous callers, Dr. A, Mr. A, and all that. Maybe they should have made some parts of the movie a hallucination, and some part of it not a hallucination. Well, we're not the ones writing the story, right? If I want to write my story, I'll write my story. If I want to produce a movie, I'll produce my movie. But I'm not the one writing. So hey, and again, you cannot dictate what someone hallucinates.
True.
You don't have a you. It's and by the way, in that the period of hallucination in that so-called five stages of grief is really embedded in that first stage, which is denial. So when you're in
Mm,
denial, you begin to. She was denying a child was dead, so she was acting
mm,
as though the child was still alive, right? That's why she went to school, opened the door, even though there was no one coming out of the car, right? She prepared
mm,
meal that no one was going to eat. And so it's it's a real life. These things happen. Yeah, it's Meryl Streep. It's Meryl Streep. Yeah. So these things happen in real life, and to me, um, overall, I think it's a great movie. You know, the
mm,
good thing was I was telling a friend of mine this morning that I did not. The good thing for me though was I didn't get biased. That as what the past 8 years I stayed away from Tyler Perry's movies. So I don't have what I mean is I don't have no, I don't have like all the recent ones. I don't have a fatigue of his movies. So it's almost like
mm.
I'm starting from a fresh start. So to me, it
Yeah.
really looked good. I don't know if you get my point, right?
Yes, I
So
get
each,
you.
each, each to his own, right? I guess maybe if I'd been watching all his movies like back to back, I'll be like, this. Here we go again. Here we go again.
Mm,
But to me, it wasn't, and that's me now, not no other people, right?
yeah.
What is the lesson we can learn? Lots of lesson there. I was saying something I typed something in the comment section about the FBI. The issue about the FBI. If you
Oh
notice
yeah.
that they were hesitating. The actual local police, they were trying not to make the FBI come into that story.
Mm.
I don't know if you noticed that, right? They were
Yes,
like,
yes.
why do you think they were doing that? What do you think? What was the reason why the local police did not want the feds to get involved?
I don't know. Tell me.
Okay, oh, all right, that's fine. So I have a personal experience with the FBI. I personally have a personal, and what I
Yeah.
mean is the experience is not good experience. It's negative. My
Well,
connotation, my experience with them is that no matter how they look like, they are impartial. They have some racial bias.
hmm.
So if they come, yeah, yeah, hey, there's a difference between someone is telling you a story from I read a book, I know a friend. No, I'm telling you something that I'm the one in the story. You know what I'm saying, right?
Wow.
It's not like I was arrested or anything, but I'm telling you that even the FBI is not infallible.
Hmm.
So the way they treat two people or three people with the same issue, the skin color may determine the outcome.
Hmm.
It is the same reason why the bank manager decided to walk out with her at the end of that movie, raise her hands,
Hmm.
turn around. Why did she not just, you remember the last two, those two ladies, the one I said was very angry, annoying and all that, the younger ladies in the
Hmm.
bank, when they were walking out, the bank manager could have walked out with them, right?
Mm-hmm.
She came back and said she's going to walk out with
Joanne.
yeah, she's going to
Sorry.
walk out with her. Yeah, and the reason is because what I'm saying is that you really don't know how it can end. It can end with a bullet at the back of your head, and that's game over.
True.
And the next thing they will say, "Sorry, I felt threatened." Oh,
Hmm.
I didn't really get the. So that is the issue here. The issue here is that there is some racism in the system that is
Hmm.
systemic, endemic, and it's not in your face. And when you do away with DEI, like right now, there's no DEI, quote unquote. It does not remove what's happening.
Hmm.
You know, yeah, D is correct. They've been through a whole lot. So it's a struggle. That's what I'm saying. It's a struggle. Tyler Perry was bringing a lot. Every scene in that movie, if you really want to break down that movie, you have to look at it from the context of the people they call the FBAs. And I don't know if you know that terminology. FBAs,
Mm-mm.
foundational Black Americans. Okay, so there's something, I'm not making this up. You can Google, find it out, right? There's a group of people in the US called the FBAs, right? Foundational Black Americans. They are the ones that feel that their great grandparents were brought in as slaves. So if you
Hmm.
are a first generation immigrant, or a second generation immigrant, you are not considered an FBA.
Hmm.
Let me make it clearer to you now. So let me use Barack Obama and his wife, right? So Barack Obama's dad is Kenyan, right? And his
Yeah.
wife, sorry, Barack Obama's mom is Kenyan. Sorry, his dad is Kenyan. His mom is a white American. That's Barack Obama now, right? So by by that extension, because Barack Obama's dad is Kenyan, is a first generation immigrant in the US. Barack Obama himself, right? Michelle Obama, on the other hand, she's an FBA, which means that our great grandparents were here a lot in the US a long time, right? So the FBAs have a mindset that recent immigrants may not even have too.
Hmm.
And Tyler Perry is not a recent immigrant. So he was speaking to a subset, even among the people that are watching him. So you and I may be looking at that movie and looking at it from a lens, and they are looking at it from a different lens. So
Hmm.
everyone is watching the same thing, but we are seeing different things. But
Hmm.
it doesn't negate the fact that the issues that Taraji Henson went through in that movie, lots of women, regardless of your race, your gender, they go through that stuff.
Hmm.
When the system has failed you and you have to rely on chanting from outside, from the crowd, to keep you alive when you come out, so that's let me keep quiet here. So yeah, so it's a loaded movie. You can't um you can't understand all of it in one sitting. you know to me, I think it's a great movie. It does justice to some issues. Did he overstretch it? Well, it's movies, drama. You are supposed to overstretch some things. You're actually supposed to
Hmm.
do that, unless you're trying to carry a shaky camera and you're just, yeah, direct descendants of slave. That's another name for FBAs. That's what they call them. And that they have a history. Their history is rich. So, and their history may not be the history of the recent immigrants. That's what I'm saying. It
Hmm.
doesn't mean that the skin color is not the same, but the mindset really may not be the same.
Hmm. Yeah, David, I'm glad you even mentioned this FDA part because, to be honest, I have no idea. I don't even know. I won't even be able to interpret the movie in that direction. But you see, the relationship that Taraji, that's Janaya, had with her boss, it reminded me of some books I read back in school. I'm thinking of the types of is it Thomas Ellison, those early,
Uh-huh.
let me use the word, early Negro writers,
Yeah.
what the direction of their literature was how the black men back, during the earlier slave trade era, how they would transfer all their frustrations and aggressions on the women in their
Mhm.
household. If you look at the color purple, we had that a lot. So it's more like when they go out there and they encounter their white lords, their white masters, and when they go back home, they've been demasculated, like they've been belittled to zero. So when they come
Yeah.
back, they try to impose what is left of their masculinity on the women around
Correct.
them. And that is why they were very cruel and mean to their wives, their daughters. Some of them would even go as far as raping their daughters just to impose their authority in their household. So it's more like the respect they were not getting out there, they will come back and transfer all that aggression on the women. in their household. So when I watched the movie personally, looking at that relationship between Janaya and her boss,
And
that
that's
was
right.
just the scenario that was playing out in my head, because it's like we don't know who owns the supermarket, right? So it could be that it's a white person that owns the supermarket. The
Right.
black manager there is there as a manager, so
Yeah.
he probably receives it hot from the powers
from
above.
from the
And
superior,
so,
right? So it's just
exactly,
dissipating it to the ones. It's frustration.
exactly.
So there's a book called The American Caste System.
Hmm.
Caste, like the
Let's
Indian
see.
caste
Yeah.
system, right? By Isabella Wilkinson. It's
Hmm.
Isabella Wilkinson. You can read it out, right? Fantastic
Yeah.
book that exposes the ills. That's in a nutshell. What that book does is, when you say racism and all that, is the skin, right? Skin, right? When
Yeah.
you say someone's race, you're looking at the skin color, right? But the skin is the most superficial of the human body, right? The bone
Hmm.
is the framework, the bone and the muscles and the tendons and all that. You don't see those things, but that's what keeps the person standing erect, right? So the
Mm-hmm.
caste system is actually the bone, the framework, right? So what you're seeing is just a paraphernalia. What we are seeing on the outside is just what we can see on the outside. It runs deeper than just racism. That's what we're talking about here, right? In that book, Isabella Wilkinson aptly breaks down the entire American structure. If you read that book, you'll understand why things are what they are in 2025. So for example, if you have to, if you look at the American system, and I know many people may not be aware, some may be aware, some may not be aware, right? How people got their right to vote tells you where you are on that caste system, right? So, for example, maybe white males first, then after a while, the black men, at some point, and then after a while, then the women had to do their suffrage, they had to do their stuff. Anthony Susan, they came. Then after a while, literally, the black woman in that caste system, a black woman who is not well educated, who doesn't have a good job, and who is like just struggling, is literally down, down, down on that caste
Mm.
system, right? And
True.
if you want to move from one caste to another caste, like let me use the Indian caste system, which people know about, right? If you're marrying or maybe from the Brahmins are the highest small caste, right? And
Mm.
the Kshatras are below them, right? So if the Kshatras want to marry, they marry the Kshatras. A Brahmin will not marry. It's hard for you to marry up a caste. That's what I'm saying, right?
Mm.
But the American caste system is different. It's not based on religion. This is not a Hindu stuff, right? It is more of uh you can move up a caste in the US if you get married, if you get I'm not saying this is what all these people do. Some people is love and all that, but for you to see someone who marries out of let's say a black guy gets married to a white lady, right? He may be trying to move up his caste or move his
Mm.
kids up his caste, a caste, the same way opposite, the other way around. A female black lady marries a white guy, even in that caste even among the whites. Now let's use the whites, the whites from Europe, Western Europe, right? They are not the same. They are not the same. The ones from the Mediterraneans, so the ones from Portugal, Spain, they are not like the Anglo-Saxon. They're not like the ones in from the UK. I'm talking of the ancestry and the
Mm-hmm.
exposure and what they can do in the US. Although now everything looks blurred, but it's not really true, right? So there is a caste system, and in that caste system, Taraji was in the lowest of the lowest caste. If you really want to put that thing side by side with the American caste system, so she's definitely in at heels with. She's up against everything that you can be up against. Like I don't
Mm.
know, she's up against not just our gender, our race, our religion, sorry, our educational level. Everything is working against her. It's an exposure of what other people outside the US will say, oh, that's the God's own country, But people inside are
Mm.
telling you this is the issue, right? Of course, they do not want to teach critical race theory in some schools, and that's why it does, but it's a fact. I agree with D. It's a fact, So you're right. You're right, Glory. Just at your spare time, Isabella
Mm.
Wilkinson, American Caste System. If there's
Yeah.
one book I'll say, when you read that book, I know you don't what's the word? I know you don't talk about books I know you talk about, stuff, but at least for your own knowledge. And I know you said you like reading books, right? I know you said that like last week or 2 weeks ago, right?
Yeah, last week.
So
I'll
just read this of the
definitely look
last
for
week,
it.
and you will have a better understanding of where people are coming from. And some of those people that say they're not happy with Tyler Perry from the foundational black group, from the like direct descendants of slaves, some of those people, they believe that if you don't say something, it's sort of, it's better for you not to talk about it so that
Hmm.
people forget, and that means we may even move up the caste. I'm sorry, it doesn't work that way. You
True.
ignoring the something that's glaringly staring in your face does not mean it's a topic that you shy away from.
True.
You me not looking up on the sky does not mean the sun is not shining there, right? I'm deceiving myself if I ignore that fact. I really have to keep quiet now. Any questions for me before I
Whoa.
okay, wait.
Now you've spilled so much. Like, I've literally taken down the name of that book. I am definitely going to go look for it. And I agree with you, people criticizing Tyler Perry, they believe in this hush hush system of, oh, don't say it too loud, otherwise we will receive more backlash. But what a lot of people don't understand is what Tyler Perry is doing is actually, I think it's deliberately provocative, not to get people to be unnecessarily upset, but it's to provoke you to think and to provoke you to open your eyes and see that, hey, this is the reality around you. This is what's happening around you. And you need to come to terms with the fact that, okay, it's real. So, question is, how do we get to begin to change the system? Because I said this on my video that if Tyler Perry is not doing what he is doing, especially for the black community, who is going to do it? Because I think one of you was talking, he mentioned something about a lot of the kind of movies from Nollywood, about the superhero type of thing.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
yeah, and I have my brother, one of my brothers is a huge, is it all these DC Avengers types of movies? He follows them back
yeah.
to back
Is
year
in
in,
one of
year
those?
out. The guy is a fanatic. Let me just put it that way. He's a
Well, the
fanatic.
DC the DC world is different from the Marvel. They are very
I
different,
don't
right?
think I
So
don't know.
yeah, I know. I'm just telling you that they and guys are so the people that are DC fans, they don't like the Marvel. So for example,
Yeah, I don't
DC
know.
is for example, DC is this guy Superman. Superman is DC, right?
Yeah.
And X-Men, for example, Marvel, right? So
Which one does
the
Thanos belong to? Which one does
Thanos is
Thanos
with
belong to?
Avengers, and that's Marvel.
And so that's
So
my brother's
that
team.
is okay, okay. So yeah, so there's that, yeah, and
Yeah.
it's what it is. Let me end on this note. Let me end on this note, right? Again, I'm shaking the tables today. I don't really care, No one is going to look for me. Yeah,
They
so
don't know where you are.
they don't know I'm just a David on internet, right? Maybe they'll try to trace my IP address, but unfortunately with a VPN, I'm sorry, you have to do more than that, right? So here's the deal, right?
Mm,
In that story, that RG, that movie, right? Straw, right?
mm,
There is a I'm going to I'm stretching it now, right? I'm intentionally stretching this, but that issue about her being pushed down when she was in the when she when she wore a badge in the store and she came late to work and she was trying to do stuff and someone broke the glass, the table, the
oh
bottle.
yes,
That how they were maltreating her and all that.
yes.
In that entire the way she was maltreated in the entire movie, trodden upon, stepped upon continuously, lets you know she's really in the lowest of the American caste system.
Mm,
Now, this is a rhetorical question and it's for another day. So why will someone who is a black woman in America want to be the president of the country? Why will a black woman who is considered um, very very low in the caste system want to be the president of the country in 2024?
mm,
I touched on the nerve there. So I'm literally
mm,
explaining to you in a way. I've given you a secret why the election panned out the way it panned out last year, right?
mm,
Because there's a caste system. Unfortunately, some people want to maintain that caste system, right? It has
mm,
absolutely nothing to do with the price of eggs. It has absolutely nothing to do with who's more popular. It has everything to do with the American caste system.
Hmm.
Someone is asking me one question. I was going to go away.
Before,
David,
wait, before you answer this
yeah,
person's question, yeah, I know it might seem like we're actually deviating a bit, but
yeah,
yeah. So it's just like some sort of coded question to you. I almost had issues with one of us that joins, that's a part of this community on
hmm,
Instagram, right?
yeah,
So during the whole US election and stuff, listening to everybody's campaign promises and
yeah,
whatever they were promising the American people, and how it was also going to affect other countries around the world.
yeah.
I was opting for some other person, right? I did not necessarily think that the fact that this other candidate is female made her the right fit, right? I did not think of
Correct.
the caste system. And for me, I think it boiled down to the her role in trying to force families, especially babies, to switch their gender. I think that was the part
Okay,
where I really had
okay,
issues,
okay.
right? There was
Issues.
just a lot
Okay,
of complications there.
okay. So remember that there are two kinds of people that vote, right? There's a single
Mm-hmm,
voter. There's someone that votes on a single issue, and there's the other person that looks at the whole picture. That's it.
mm-hmm,
If you are a single issue voter, then you look at things like abortion, for, against. That's how I'm going to vote. Transgender, the alphabet community. I don't like it. I like it. That's how I'm going to vote. Right. I'm from a
mm,
conservative mindset, conservative background. I'm stuck. This is how I'm going to do. That's how I'm going to vote. Or you may also be single-minded, a single issue, and your issue is maybe taxes, right? You want tax to be
mhm,
down, and that's all. Whichever of the candidate says they're going to bring down the taxes, that's how I'm going to vote, right? Now,
mm,
I dare say, if you're a single issue voter, you are not a, you're not a. I want to use the right word. Uh, you're not smart. You're not smart. I'm sorry to say, but
mm,
you're not a very calculative voter. Yeah, you are wasting your votes, right?
mhm,
No one person shares the exact same thing that you share. In fact, between husband and wife, they have differences in opinions in one or two things, right? So
mhm,
you may be. It's very rare to find someone who's ultra conservative or ultra liberal, right? So there's always going to be, you're going to be somewhere in the middle, which means you might be progressive in some issues and be liberal, and be conservative in some issues. Let me give you an example. I'm not. This is not me. I'm just giving you an example, right? So you might be like, let's say what you said, right? Gender changing surgeries, right? Gender changing surgeries, right? Surgery that will make a male a female, female a male, right? I might be very conservative on that thing, and I don't like it, right? I'm using myself as this is an example, not that this is where I stand, right? So
mm,
I am, by nature, I'm conservative when it comes to issues like that, right? But when it comes to issues of social justice, when it comes to issues of um reaching out to the poor, to the homeless, to the widow, making it easier for there to be a safety net to catch people that cannot afford, to make sure that everyone gets insurance, health insurance, to widen that scope, I might be progressive in that issue. You see what I'm saying?
mhm,
Unfortunately, the candidates you have in front of you, the one that is progressive on one issue is not on the other issue. That's what I'm saying. So at the end of the day, you have to look at the whole person. It's a whole person concept, right? You have to look at the whole person and say, you know what? After looking at all this thing, I'm going to score you a 70 over 100. No one is going to get 100, and no one is going to get a zero. So if you are comfortable saying you're going to go for someone who's against gender gender stuff, right? Gender voting, gender changing surgeries, but that same person is going to make you buy a crate of egg double the price, and you think that that's worth it, then so be it. You see, so it's the same thing in elections in Nigeria, for example, right? You have one party, you have another party. One party makes more noise on the internet, the other party does not. We all know the elections are rigged, anyways. It's who rigs the
yeah.
elections
So,
most, right? But at the end of the day, though, the difference here is that at least in the US, they have ideology, they have ideas. You know what the Democrat stands for, you know what Republic, at least to an extent, right? In Nigeria, you don't
mm,
even know what it stands for. Everyone is blooding. The same person was in three parties 4 years ago, and it's changed and changed and changed. And you're just like, this is just a used clothes, basically.
it's all recycled
Okay,
manifestos
recycle.
anyway.
Let me. I know there's someone here. Let me just answer this question, and then I'll let H Is that, I don't know who H is, but I'll let H comment.
It's
So
Happy Mel.
D,
Yeah.
okay, okay, yeah, she okay. So D is asking the question. Oh, the question has gone off. I saw the question. Did you take
Oh,
the question off? Yeah. So she said that where was that question? She said,
oh, she was
oh no,
asking you
it's
to speak
Daisy. It was
more
Daisy. It was
on.
Daisy that asked the question. Daisy Dreams.
Yeah, this is it. This
Okay,
is
there's
it.
that question. Okay, why the FBAs dislike Africans so much? Well, to really answer that question in a PhD level, right? In a PhD level way, let's start by saying it's not all FBAs that dislike all Africans. Let's start that way. Let's not use the same brush everyone. She's right though. He or she's right. There's it's over and over. We've seen that in over time. You see it personally, you see it online. It's true, right? But it's not all of them. That's number one. And that question I'm seeing in front of on the screen, where you have the FBAs, remove FBA and put Africans there. And where you have Africans, remove Africans and put FBAs here. So you can say, can you shed light why Africans also dislike FBAs, right? I just want you to know that if you want to balance that, if you want to really tackle that question, right? So this is the thing, right? I asked one of them. I asked an FBA. I actually had conversation with an FBA. I was like, hey, why do you guys? What's the issue here? A female. She told me this was I think of Florida or something. She told me. She said that the Africans that are coming now, right? They are not
Hmm.
grateful. They are not grateful. And I'm like, no, you're laughing. And I was like, grateful for what? And she didn't end there. She said, after all they've done for us. I'm like, after all they've done for you, what did they do to you? Like, did someone come and steal your goat? Like, and she was like, I'm joking about. I said, no, I'm not joking. She said, every slave that was sold from West Africa, right, and ended up somewhere in the Caribbean, so in the on the or any of the Americas, like Latin America, Brazil, US, every slave that was sold by another African. So in her mind, it's your great grandfather that sold my great grandfather. So I have a beef with you. I'm just telling you how she said it to me. I couldn't believe it. That's the beginning, right? So I have this
Wow.
beef that I think that you've had it easy. That's number one.
Wow.
Number two, you are coming from a place where um you've not dealt with systemic racism because all of you are the same, right? And I on the other hand, have lived through generational passed down racial problems that may even show up in the DNA. So literally, they've lived through times, and then you just show up when we've suddenly gotten a little bit better after the 1960s, after the civil rights movement, right? So now that they have some rights, that's when you are showing up, and then you are showing up. And the funny, this is now wait, it's when you are showing up, you're not showing up in a way that is like, hey, uh, I'm new here. Can you help me out? You are showing up to be at the level of the whites. No, you're laughing. This is the they asked the question. I'm shedding the light. I'm just telling you how. I'm telling you the
Wow.
raw fact here. This is not. I'm not sugarcoating anything, right? So
Wow.
there's the perception that after all that we have done, you are coming to reap the fruit of labor that you didn't really suffer for. So it behoves on you to stay in your lane. Now, they don't have a problem with you. Again, remember, this is one person, and I already said that they are not all the same, right? But she said it behoves on you to come in more tactical, to be more tactical in the way you do it, right? Don't come in as though you know more than I do. And every now and then you see some Africans that come to the US, Canada, that want to make it look like the FBAs are they have this stereotype about them, that they get from Hollywood, and that they're really not, they're sagging their pants, they're in and out of jail, they've done time, So because of that, the African person, male or female, has a way of looking down, and it's not like, again, this is not everyone. I have to keep saying this, right, so that you don't think that David, for example, I'm far
Hmm.
away from that, right, and I'm sure many people
Yeah.
are not like that, right. It's all a personal experience. But back to the question. So the person feels that, oh, these people are they come here with this high, they have their shoulders up, They come into the system, and Glory, that for example, most of the people that travel out of maybe from Ghana or wherever, Kenya, Nigeria, or South Africa, that come to the US or UK, they are coming for maybe students. They come on student visa from there, so they have a masters. They are. Meanwhile, the people that are here, the FBAs, they are still trying to work out the system, which has kept most of the
Mm,
men in jail. And
mm,
once you've done time, you already have some stain on your history, and that's going to
true,
affect getting a job. So it's a
true.
vicious cycle. That cycle please keeps keeping some people down, and unfortunately, the people it's keeping down are the FBAs. But the recent immigrant who comes in is not keeping that person down. So that is
Mm,
that dislocation, that break in the culture. And by the way, if you're coming from a culture where you're a hustler, you've never really faced racism, maybe you faced ethnicity, maybe you faced ethnicity. For example, in
mm,
Nigeria, right? You fit ethnicity, this person is Yoruba, that person is Hausa, and all that, Igala, Ibibio, Efik, Idoma, whatever, right? And but you've not faced racism. That's what I'm saying, right? But these people have lived racism. They are
mm.
living it, so their mindset is different. So they have to look at you that way. Unfortunately, um,
Nah, I
so
think I agree with Daisy here that they
they're
are being
fighting.
very defensive. I mean, now you explained it this way. I totally understand, but I feel like they are channeling their aggression to the wrong people because Africans did not just wake up one morning and decide to sell fellow Africans to the whites, right? I mean, there was a transaction. So the people that they should turn and look at is right there with them as well. Do they know what other Africans are actually dealing with in Africa with the so called leaders that we have? They
They,
make it
they,
look
they,
like, oh, no, like we're going our own shit over here.
you
Look
know,
at Nigeria. Look at Nigeria, for example. People
yeah.
actually think we have a democracy. No, this is like neocolonialism in full display, in
you, you know
broad
you know
daylight.
you know why I'm laughing, right? I'm laughing because you're actually correct, right? I'm laughing because do you know the I don't know if you know about JAPA, right?
Yes,
J A
Japa.
Then you know JAPADA.
Japa.
So I'm laughing because there are lots of FBAs that will go. They say they're moving to Ghana. They're done. They're fed up. I'm fed up with the United States. I'm done with the states and all that. Then they go to Ghana, right? And then 1 month later, they're like, I'm coming back. Not all of them. Not all of them, right? And they see what you are leaving. You know what the
Yeah.
life. Then they're like, oh, maybe this thing is not that easy. Right? And then they're like, okay, so it might be some defensive mode, but it's beyond defensive. How you know is just it's not defensive mode is part of it, right? But it's not all. It doesn't explain all of it. For example, right now in LA, in Los Angeles, right? There's a lot of in the last few days they've been fighting about immigration and all that, and the Latinos, right? The Latino population, which is also heterogeneous, by the way, they're not the same. Cubans are not Puerto Ricans. Puerto Ricans are not Nicaraguans, so they are different, but let's just put them for this purpose, right? Right now in LA, they're rounding them up and they're deporting them in Los Angeles, in California, right? And
Wow.
the Mexicans are on the streets, or Mexican descent, they're on the streets and they're protesting, and they've been asking the Latinos on the streets in LA are saying, where are the where are the blacks? Why are they not beside us? I don't know if you know what I'm saying. Like, where are
Mm,
they not? Why are they not helping us fight this fight? And do you know what the FBAs
mm.
are saying? We are sitting this one out. This is not our fight. We've been fighting since 18 something, since 17 something, right? And
Wow.
we may still even have some fights in the future. Why don't we just? That tells you that everyone has to think about themselves.
True.
So it's a way of their thinking. It's a
True.
little bit of defense. It's a little bit of selfishness, and I don't blame anyone by the way, I'm not taking sides, right? I understand what you're saying about neo-colonizers. I really understand what it means to give a police officer 100 naira and then they allow you move on, and somebody cannot give that and you go to jail. I understand that move, right? But I also
Mm,
understand what's happening in the other place too. Yeah, so it's complicated. The generational trauma, systemic racism, is hard to heal. That's a fact. That statement on the screen there is the fact. Like, people can run away from it, but that's why we got to where we are. You know. It's been a lot, right?
Wow. I mean, no, to be very honest, this is wild to me because, as I said, I understand it's difficult with people that have gone through that to heal, and of course, they need to pass the blame to someone. But I wish they would also understand that, in a way, even though you're fighting the system over there, we are not having it easy over here. And if we're being honest with ourselves, yeah, the bulk of the people that are doing jackpot to go study abroad,
Yeah.
most of those families, they are the ones that are privileged. They are
They
the
know
ones that
that
have not,
too. Exactly. You're
they are
correct.
the ones that are
So,
privileged. They are the ones that
the,
have not been trampled upon or squeezed by
the,
the system. They are the ones that are even,
fantastic.
in a way, benefiting from this government
So,
that we
so,
have.
so you just so let me. I know I've been saying I'm going to round up, but you've just touched something, right? So I was somewhere, in Georgia, in Atlanta, Georgia, right? And they were doing a master's program, right? And one of the recent someone that just japa, right? Someone that just came,
Mm,
right? And they were at a bus. They were waiting for the school shuttle, right? And it was winter, so it was cold, right? And it was a Friday, and they were waiting for the shuttle, and the shuttle came late. So both FBAs, Africans that just immigrated, whites, Latinos, everyone,
yeah.
Asians, everyone was feeling cold. By Monday, I'm not making this story up. This is a real story. I don't want to mention names, so I don't know who's watching this stuff. Who knows? They may know that I'm talking about them, so I have to keep it very vague, right? But by that was on a Friday. On Monday morning, so there were like 10 people at the bus stop waiting for the shuttle that will take you from the school to the dorm, to the where they live, right? So by
Mm,
Monday, instead of 10 people at the bus stop, there were nine. What happened was that one person was not there anymore. That one person was an African who just came
mm,
like who jackpot, right? And you know what?
mm.
That person, the reason why the person was not at the bus station was that the person just picked up the phone, made a phone call to the person's parents, and over the weekend, the parents came, bought a brand new car, and this tells you, and imagine the FBA looking at that scenario. You understand what I'm saying? Like, so when you and they'll be like, so these guys have this money, they have this oil money that is not never ending in their country.
Yeah,
They have money from Congo, from minerals, but it's not every there are over 200 million people in Nigeria, right? Do you know the
yes,
poverty? Do you know that for the ones, if you take a sample of the people that japa, right, to the sample of the people that are remaining, it's not the same. The people that are japaing are the ones that actually are either upper middle class or actually the rich, right? So the ones they are seeing are those ones. So the FBAs are seeing those kind of people, and they're thinking that, oh, that's how it is there. And
Hmm.
and it's one thing for them to see those people. It's another thing for that person to now ride with a brand new car across without even stopping to pick you up.
See, Debbie,
Oh.
do you know that? Do you know that it doesn't even end there? Of course, they live comfortably over there and they get the best of that world, right? Guess what? When they are done with whatever they went to study, and they come back, they now hold the very highest of the highest positions and titles
Oh
in
yeah.
this country.
Oh
So you
yeah.
that you've been here, you've been scraping by, you're just scraping by because your boss, your future boss is on his way coming. That's
Let
how
me
it
let
is.
me let me let me shock you. Let me shock you, Glory, right? I don't want to mention names again. I'm trying my best not to mention names, right? Because again, the internet never
It's
forgets, right?
okay. I know. I can even be counting.
No, no, no. What I'm saying is that no, I want to say it again. I'm saying I will only tell you what I know personally, right? So again, not recently, maybe a few years back now, right? I was somewhere, and the person I was talking to, who did me a favor actually, that helped me a lot. The person is the son of one of the past presidents of Nigeria.
Hmm.
I don't want to mention anything more than that, right? And this back to what you're saying, right? And then the person said exactly what you said, which is,
Oh,
oh, we just go back, And I was like, this is all set up. Like, so people are. When are you going to leave the rat race? So the rat is just getting fatter, and they're just changing location. But the people that are not having access to the resources are still not having access to the resources. You know,
And
so
to be honest, it doesn't look like we
you
would
know when they
ever.
said, they did Dirty December, right? Dirty December, right?
Mhm.
When Jack Bass came back, those people that call the foreign touch, and then they go back, and they
Mhm.
were, you did something about that, about your hair salon.
Yeah.
That's, how pissed off you are in that. If you go back, you watch that, right? It is that same thing. And if you get pissed off, they'll be like, well, is it because you didn't travel? You know, I mean, how will you have someone slaving, working his ASS out, trying to rise, and then all of a sudden, that person is in Lagos or somewhere, right? And then all of a sudden, one guy from nowhere who just came back from maybe Cambridge, you don't even know if he had just a diploma, maybe he didn't even do just one just one degree. It may not even be a real degree. That's what I'm saying. It may be like a course, like all this 1 week course or 2 day course. But because there's something behind that course, Harvard, Yale,
Mm.
UPenn, Wharton Business School, Kellogg's, Cambridge, Imperial College, and that just means that person gets the job. And then you are there. You've been there for ages, and then you're like, that's why people have to keep japping. All right,
Really, just come
let
back
me.
with an accent. Just
Le-
come back
Oh,
with an
that's
accent.
all. That's
A
and
mixed up accent.
by the way, the accent is just that's another story for another day. Let
Just
me let
come
me
back with
go.
an accent.
Happy Mel has to talk. She's been waiting. Let's let her talk. Yeah, sorry. Okay, bye
All
bye.
right. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. Thank you so much. Oh my God. Happy Mel, you are especially welcome. So sorry for keeping you waiting.
No problem. Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. How are you?
I'm fine. See, it's been raining here since morning. I don't know if it's been raining in your own part of
Yes,
Lagos.
it
The
has
network
over
is
here this morning.
messy. The network has been, I have to go back, come in, but thank you, Sir David. Whenever you come on, it's like we should take a pen and paper and start jotting things down. I need to give you your flowers. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay, where do I start from? The straw
Yeah.
movie.
Let's see from the straw. Yes.
Okay, so let me tell you the truth right now. I've not seen that movie,
You've not?
but no, hear me out first. So, like, Tyler Perry does two things: is either tragedy or comedy. Now, I prefer comedy.
True.
Now, the reputation on that movie, I don't want any movie to escalate my emotions and turn me upside
Mm.
down and dig up things that I will see it eventually. But I think one topic keeps coming up from everybody that I've seen is the grief part, I mean, the grieving part of it.
Mm.
So I'll give you an example. I went to a federal hospital in this Lagos during the week, and when I got there, it was in around 11, 12. There was a riot, a protest going on in the admin block. What happened? Now, a family member died, passed on, and he's a
Yeah.
Muslim. So they need to go, bury him within as soon as possible. I think it's 24 hours gap to bury the person once he's Muslim. Now, what happened? The person has been sick for a while, so they've been paying bills, and unfortunately, he passed on. Now, the family said we don't have finances to pay to pick our loved one and go bury him. Now, release his body, we'll sign something later on coming to pay. What the first thing that came to mind, because they were people gathered, they were protesting, release our family, it was almost a riot there. The first thing that came to mind is this family that lost a family member cannot even grieve or mourn this person. They are now have
Mm.
to go around seeking for funds. How do we bury this person? That kind of. And then it now brought it to my mind that look, people are no longer allowed to mourn these days. There's a lot going on at the same time. You need to work to get money for this, get money for that. Okay, apart from the hospital bill, they have to pay for the funeral, because that's what it looks so easy to wrap the person in a white linen and bury. It's not as simple as that. There is
Yes.
ceremonies that has to go on. Now these people have to seek for funds for that funeral. Now when people are not allowed to mourn and grieve normally, everybody's trying to the pressure is a lot. it puts we don't mourn things, we lose something. Oh, it's God's time is the best. We just find a way to cover it up and tell you to move on. Don't bother. Men are not supposed to cry. Why are you even crying? Somebody that dies this last day, you are still mourning. You see those kind of a thing. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
allow us to sit with our thoughts, reflect. Now, when we don't have time to mourn through our losses, we don't give others the grace who are going through the same thing that expects us to understand them. You see why some people don't extend that grace to other. Hey, me too, that lost my whole family member in time one. Am I not here moving on? That's what you will hear. You see, that
True.
is a problem that we need to find a way around it. We, even the community, at least we still have it here in Africa, the community that we build around us to help us go through whatever situation we are going through.
Mm.
The issue still remains that we are not allowed to mourn this thing, and then it bottles down and then comes up later as an emotional outburst or psychosis.
Mm.
And one of the things that we learned, I mean, also I learned mental health. Then one of the things that triggers these psychological issues is stress. That's the major trigger.
Mm.
When you keep bottling down these feelings, just keep going. Someone break up with you, hey, are you the only person they broke up with? More break, you cannot manage. Keep going. Oh, my phone,
Mm.
my 1.6 million naira phone got me. Say, hey, it's my SIM card that paying me. That's bullshit. You lost something. Take your
Mm-hmm.
time and grieve it. And when you walk through these emotions, it makes you a better person. You grow up. You leave the past behind you and look to the forward. Now, when we are carrying traumas, sometimes we now put it down on our children. A child will walk past and walk the wrong way. We are beating the child. Why? You see why this psychology is real. That's what one thing that taught me with this story. Like, she had a psychotic break and all that. It could happen to anyone. Now, on the issue of Black Americans saying, okay, Tyler is that he hates Black women. That issue has been on, I think, since 2020 something. But I remember 2022 when he launched his production company, and people were dragging him. Oh, blah blah blah. You've beat billions on Black stories, Black struggle stories, love, trust, all this. So, what do you expect of him? Like I said earlier on, I'm into comedy. I don't really like tragedy like that. Now, some people don't mind tragic movies. That's their cup of tea. Just like there are superhero movies. You really say, okay, you could have enough, stop producing them. No. There is a story, there are stories that still needs to be told in that Black community. Let him
True.
tell those stories. It's not that people should not critique him. He's doing his best. Like he said, one issue you raised when people were like, oh, their big brother should go on a break. You ask, the job that they provide yearly, who will pay for those jobs?
True.
Now, Tyler Perry is providing job opportunities to his actors, production, whatever. He's providing his job. If it's not your cup of tea, click off and go and watch what entertains you.
Absolutely.
So they've been dragging it every time Tyler Perry releases a movie, and is this thing. Hey, Tyler Perry doesn't like Black women. They will start that Black women talk. It's not like their feelings and their opinion is somehow valid. It's valid. But then he cannot, it's not something, this issue has not been sorted out. So he has to keep producing this
Yes.
movie so that when you want to relax, you will remember that, listen, no, because everybody is shitting on Black women till today.
True.
Everybody is shitting on Black women. Everybody, hey, because the highest rate of a single mother, I think, is in the Black community for Black women. Everybody, hey, this one, Black women, that one. Now they're getting more educated than the males. It's still an issue. And here, all the education, you cannot even submit. Why would they submit? It started years ago when their husbands or their boyfriend were being sent to jail based on little issues. Now they had to man up and become strong. They now label them strong Black women. Hey, strong Black, we cannot submit. Why when she has to play the role of the mother and the father when their fathers are being taken to jail? You see, this issue has not been addressed. It's so Tyler Perry needs to keep it alive so that we will not rest. So if people that is saying, oh, Tyler Perry does not like Black men, it's not that he doesn't like them. He's bringing exposure. You need to be aware of these things.
True.
So you too, you will pack well. So is it when he stop producing the movie, what will happen? All of a sudden, everybody will accept Black women. Is that what it
Mm.
means? It
True.
will not just go away. So I think people should give Tyler Perry a break on this. So it's like every time he releases a new movie, you go and he doesn't like black women or this struggle love. We are tired. Go and watch his own comedy. He has media that is more of comedy. Go there and watch it now. So that's my own take. The grieving part and then the Tyler Perry part. He's providing job opportunities. He's giving you something to, sometimes you learn of it. Some people are going through this issue. They don't even know. They don't want to accept it. But when you give them this
Yeah.
representation, they will realize that, look, it's not just me. You have someone that is
Mm,
going through this, and that's what will lead to suicide. You think, oh, my own is the worst. God has abandoned me. But sometimes it's not that case. Sometimes the
mm,
system does not favor you. Everything
true.
is working against you. So sweeping it under the rug and trying to glamorize what is not even there
Mm,
will not change anybody's story. So I think that's my major take on these two topics and
yeah.
the whole when
Thank you
it
so
comes
much.
to yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Thank you so much, Happy. And you see, yeah, from what you said, it just makes me remember something that I learned back then in school. One of my lecturers would say that, when a work of art could be a painting, it could be a movie, it could be a book, could be a sculpture. They said, you know, when a work of art is really good, when it receives a lot of criticisms to shut it down, right?
yeah.
When people see a work of art and they call, like there's a lot of protests for it to be taken down, for it to be destroyed, for it to be, destroyed into
Removed, yeah.
oblivion, then it's really good. And the reason for that is because the people who criticize it heavily for no just reason is because they hate to see themselves in that thing.
Wow.
So the version of themselves that they see in that thing is the version of themselves that they would rather hide away. They don't want to project that part of themselves. Yeah.
Reminded. Yeah.
Yeah. So when I go on to especially TikTok and Twitter, in fact, let me say TikTok especially, you see a lot
Most
of black
toxic.
women. When you see a lot of black women that make these videos, yeah, I'm like, oh, Tyler Perry hates black women. Da, da, da. You look at them. So what I normally do is when I see such videos, I scroll down to their page, right, to see the kind of content they put out. And you see, one thing about social media is, as much as social media is very deceptive, it also has a way of exposing
Exposing.
people's
Yeah.
personalities. You might not
Yes.
see it all, but you might get just a glimpse into their personalities. So
Yes.
when I check like that, I don't now I know why you don't like Tyler Perry's
You are
movies.
judging them.
They are judging themselves. A lot of them, they are like those women that Tyler Perry portray as victims in his movies. So it's like, why is this man outing me like this? Why is this man exposing me? So they don't want to be
See,
exposed.
they don't have time to reflect well and deal with these issues. They would rather not see it at all.
Mhm.
They would rather not
Oh
see it.
man.
I think we
All
should
right.
even try to just enjoy movies these days and
Mm,
stop overly sensitizing everything. It's
yeah.
a lot.
All right. Thank you so much, Happy. Thank you so much. All right, guys. I wanted us to be here for just 3 hours, and I want to end this live stream now. But if there's anybody that wants to still add something, please click the link in the comment section. But whilst we're at that, I like this comment from Onlight. It says they are sorry says they are not saying Tyler don't like black women. They are saying he's always portraying their issues too much and less male issues. I think you mixed it up, Collar. Well, I see where you're coming from, right? Because most of the main characters in Tyler Perry's movies are women. But this is what what's his name now? David mentioned when he was speaking earlier, that people get so focused on the main character because of course that's the main character, right? But people get so focused on the main character that they forget that there are other characters in the movie. When you check other characters in the movie, you realize that And even with just one scene of Tyler Perry's movies, this man is shooting a lot of issues. Like he's really projecting a lot of issues in society, both male, both female. He's really doing a whole lot, you know. But I guess it's because people are just so used to him having women as the main characters, right? But it still makes me wonder, like, is it going to be different if he now begins to change women as the main characters to men as the main characters? Is it really going to make any difference? Because really, if you watch his movies, you find out that there are men with their own many issues in his movies, just as we've analyzed from Strong movie, right? Oh, there's also Acrimony, right? That guy had a truckload of issues. Till today, I still don't like that guy in Acrimony. The guy is still very annoying, but it's something that we can argue and argue and argue, and people will still have their own perspective about that movie, right? But yeah, we have S Cuckoo. Cuckoo, you are welcome. You have been missed. How are you?
Hi, hi, Glory. Hi, everyone. Happy Saturday. I know I missed
You're
last
welcome.
weekend. By the time I got home around like almost 2 a.m. and slept. I was supposed to wake up at 7 so I can be able to catch the live, and I completely just. By the time I woke up and I saw you had just posted it like 2 minutes, I was like, "Oh my God, I missed!" Yes, but this week, and then I almost missed this one too because I was running some errands this morning, and by the time I tried to rush to get on the live, I just saw,
Hmm.
oh my gosh, 2 hours already in, and I'm glad I caught our gracious Dr. David's wisdom that he was spitting, and it was just facts,
Yeah.
and it was just spot on. And because the things that I saw while I was living in Atlanta is like a lot of, I had friends who were for not only from Nigeria, not Cameroon, not only from Cameroon, other African countries too. You have like a lot of the politicians in those countries. Their children live in Atlanta. I went to school with them in Atlanta, that I saw a lot of it. A lot of them, their parents either purchased homes in Atlanta for them. They did not rent apartments; they were living in homes that they were purchased for them. They had cars from the day they entered this country. Some of us caught buses for a minute before we actually got a car. So
Hmm. Hey.
yeah, so I knew the Atlanta metro system, Martha, for like I knew every single because I used to catch the bus a lot, and so that was so I that to me, one of my friends even had to sometimes just park her car and just ride the bus with me because to hang out, because I told her, I said it's easier for me to get in, go where I'm going. It's along the bus route. Let me just take it, and but eventually when we all got our cars, it makes life simple. It makes life not
Hmm.
simple. It makes life easier. But I can,
And the two
I
places they
do,
always go to, Atlanta and Texas. That's their two favorite
yes, yes.
locations.
Oh my God. It's like, you've turned around, like the number, I can say, if anybody, I don't, it seems like David grew up in Atlanta too, from the way I hear him. If any African, like Georgia Perimeter College was like, is this community college in Atlanta where almost every African went there. Like either you either going to Georgia State or you went to Georgia Perimeter College or you went to Spelman or you went to Maurice Brown at the time, but Maurice Brown they shut it down. So it was either
Hmm.
Spelman, Morehouse, or those schools was on those just those schools. And even just in Georgia Perimeter College, the number of politicians' children who either had cars, like not just cars, like fancy sports cars, expensive cars too. They have homes that is paid for cash. They don't have a mortgage. All they have is that maybe they pay taxes that is not even paid by them. It's probably from their father's account. And
Mm-hmm.
so life is very unbalanced. Life is very
Very.
unbalanced, and so when you see people who try to come to the US and they come and live this life and you see it on social media and you get carried away with it, and if you want to keep up with them, you'll probably go and put your neck in some places that you don't even realize. But
True.
and then you have all these other people who actually struggle in Africa and they come out here, and then with all these raids that is going on, because we're just saying the people who really need to be here. My brother and I were just talking about it because he was talking about the raids where the immigration customs enforcement is just picking up people in Atlanta too. I was telling him about the one in California, in Los Angeles, where they just even had the riot on Monday. and the burning down places, things in LA because the ones they are trying to refuse ICE from picking up people here in Los Angeles.
Mm.
And we're just talking about it like these are the people who actually need to be here. Those who actually need an out to get out of that struggle that they have in that country. But then they are faced with all these situations. And then you have the children of all these politicians who have no idea what struggle is. They are the ones who are living the life and just sailing smooth. First of all,
Mm.
they don't even need to go through the issues of getting the visa. First of all, like all, the rest of the population, because most of them have diplomatic passports. Because my friends who were kids of politicians, I know because I usually see their diplomatic passports. And in Atlanta, especially when I used to live on Roswell Road, right across from the Nigerian uh, what's it called
Embassy.
again? The it's not it wasn't I don't know if it was the embassy, it was the consulate. That's what it
Okay.
was. And so a lot of times when you see a lot of them come there to go to the consulate, a lot of them when you see the cars they even drive to come there, it's like to them it was like their office. It wasn't even they go there to just have something signed and they go back and it was just something so simple, something that another person might struggle to even get.
Hmm.
So life is very, very unbalanced, and you have the regular person struggling out here, and they cannot even they can't even get a break.
True.
And they so
True.
this movie to me was I have not watched it because I was planning to watch it this weekend because I was working last week, so I was planning to watch it this weekend, and my goal was just but then the emotions that I've seen surrounding it, and just like the trailer that I saw, I know is going to trigger a lot of emotions for me, and
Yeah.
I'm trying to prepare myself. Put it that way. I'm trying to prepare myself because one thing that I realize is grief is something that, like Happy Mail said, it's like she was so spot on too. Like you have to deal with grief. If you don't deal with grief, you cannot. There's so much that there are so many other things that will not be able to move until you actually deal with the grief.
True.
I think was
True.
it a few month ago, a few weeks ago, one of the influencer, this Caucasian couple, they were their influencers. I think they lost their child, and I saw the story on Antifumi's page, and so that triggered a lot of emotions for me that I never even knew I had not dealt with. Let me put it that way, because when I was
Mm.
living in Atlanta, I lost one of my kids,
Oh wow.
and so at the
Oh.
time when I lost, he was only 2 months old at the time, and so they will say sudden infant death syndrome. A child will sleep and not wake up, and you don't understand how or why even after they do the check and they do an autopsy and everything, they still say they cannot figure out what happened. They don't know if it was cardiovascular. They don't know what it is. They just call it a sudden infant death syndrome. I'm like, they need to figure out, they do some kind of more science research or something to figure out what this thing is. But when that happened, but that was back in 2011, and when that happened, I had I had three other kids who were older than him, and so I had to literally. It's like you don't have time to grieve because I have to get wake up and still take care of my other children. So I did not have time to say, oh, let me actually. I was grieving, but I did not have time to like really grieve because I had other responsibilities that were also a priority.
Yes.
The other children were also all under 5 years old, so they had to still be taken care of regardless. So it's not like, in this country where it's just you, your husband, and yourself, w- there's only so much help you can get. Even if you have friends who come to help, there's only so much they can do. At the end of the day, it still falls on you. And I did not deal with it because I just it's like I kept moving, I kept going, but I realized that like later it started affecting me in other ways. Like when I go some when I used to go somewhere, I never wanted to even drive by the hospital that he was taken to, and I never wanted to even drive on the street. If even in that I never went. It was they took him to one of the hospitals in Decatur, which is a town near Atlanta, and I never wanted to even go to anything related to Decatur because I said it would remind me so much of it, and I never wanted to uh, have anything to do in that side of town. We eventually moved because of it. I could not deal with it there. I could not. But then when I started working, going through like a lot of therapy, a lot of um, uh, going through just study like prayers, therapy, that helped me a lot, and to the point where I'm able to now talk about it, to the point where I'm able to now tell others about it, to the point where I'm able to help another person about it without breaking down. I went from being to the at the point where I was so scared to even hold another person's baby because I was scared that maybe I could I had a bad luck with the baby, and now I might transfer that to another person. But so dealing with all of that and be able to get out of it, it had to take some work. I had to work on that. I went back to school, but I had to actually stop for like a whole semester just to make sure I get myself together because I could not focus. And even once I finally got myself out of it, I just kept it was now smooth sailing, trying to finish school, trying to do everything else. But before that, it was like you so like Happy Meal said, you have to really have to deal with grief. If you don't deal with grief, you cannot. It affects everything else. It really really does. And this movie, from the way I've seen it being people reacting to it, I already know it's going to be a lot of emotions that are being triggered because these are struggles that I've seen happen. These are struggles I've seen happen like around me, next to me. Some of it I've experienced. So I already know that this is like going to be very very emotional to deal with already. So, but I can, if you don't have an emotional bandwidth, you cannot. I don't think you can handle such a movie. Maybe
Yeah.
he should give that kind of disclaimer or something like that. But
Mm.
when it comes to Tyler Perry, talking about people's reactions to him, to me, like how they said, Happy Mess said, Tyler Perry to me tells stories about the struggles of the African American woman, and that to me is because that's what he grew up knowing. He saw his single mom, how she struggled, and the women around him, how they struggled, and that's what he knew. He saw that, he sees that, and so he tells those stories. He also tells stories inside all of that. He also tells stories about the gold diggers too, and all of these people too. But the problem is that people don't like to see. They don't like when uh they feel like when he tells the stories, he's not making it serious. But to instead, these are issues that tell about the realities of the society, and should instead be used as a point of study. Because when I was taking psychology in one of my classes, we had to actually watch some of my movies. We had to take some movies to watch to analyze it. And even when I took one of my those sociology kind of classes in undergrad, you will watch a movie, analyze it, find things in the movie, things like that that are applicable to the topics that they were discussing. And I feel like some of these Tyler Perry movies are actually movies that can be used in that kind of context.
Mm. Mm.
So sometimes, like you said, people don't like to see. Is like when they show movies that it's like you are asking. They feel like they are telling their story. He's telling their story. To some, it's a beautiful thing. To others,
Mm.
it's like, oh, why are you only saying portraying black people as this? They are successful black people. Why don't you portray those people? If you watch his things, he's not only about movies. He's also about TV series too.
Yes.
In his TV series, he portrays successful black people. He has a lot of like. Currently, he has a contract with own network with Oprah Winfrey's network, and they have a lot. He has a lot of series that he puts on there, and Some of these are, even though they are drama, but they are also like issues in the society. Like even before he even had the contract with Oprah Winfrey, when he started Halves and Halves Not, which is one of his oldest series that he used to have on TV. That was literally like the story of the black community in the South, like especially Atlanta, Georgia. Not even Georgia, like in the further where you go, like to Savannah, Georgia, those kind of places. That's it was kind of like reality from what one of my friends told me. That is how it was there. You have all these rich black people too, successful black people, and so he has a balance. I guess maybe people just want that instead of showing them only in TV series, they want a blockbuster that also represents those same kind of people as well. But his blockbusters may only be about like the struggles, or either the struggles or either about some comedy like Medea. But when you look at Medea also tells some struggles as well. When
Mm-hmm.
his Medea series, it also has struggles because even though it was about Medea, in some of the movies, it could be about Medea's niece who is dealing with an abusive husband. It could be about something. It's not just the comedy part of it. That's what people fail to see.
Mm-hmm.
So he still tells a lot of real life issues that are going on in the society, but
True.
people just fail to see all of that. They feel like because, especially like they don't like especially his Medea series, because they say the other races, especially the Caucasians, might not take him seriously because of that. But to me, it's
True.
like a way of telling a story, regardless of how it's told. Important thing is that it is told,
Hmm.
which should speak volumes. And he also has men as leading characters in this TV series too. The, so
Mhm.
sometimes, like maybe he should just turn some of the TV series into a movie, which is what a lot of people do. You might have a show that is on TV for a while, and then all of a sudden you have a movie about it. So maybe that's where it's going to lead to one of his shows on TV. Maybe that's what it might come up to. But to me, he is telling a lot of stories that need to be told. Maybe
Mhm.
he's putting it in a way that is a lot more palatable to receive. Because if you, instead of going about standing in a protest to say these are the situations going on, he is showing that in a movie.
Mm.
Anyway, those are
Mm.
my 2 cents. It was great joining you guys again this weekend, and we hope we get to hear a lot more of this. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Escoco. Oh my God. I am so sorry about your loss. That was just so painful to hear. And I can't even imagine how you felt. So I'm so sorry about that. I'm so sorry about that. I pray that God continues to give you the mental fortitude to forge ahead, because that is so painful. So sorry. I don't know if you saw some of the comments in the comment section, people giving you hugs and wishing you well. But from here, from our hearts, we actually wish you all the strength that you need. So sorry.
Thank you all. No, thank you all so
Yeah.
much. No, we've gotten to the point where it's like you get to. They say everything happens for a reason. God gives you um something so that you can be able to help another person. God gives
Yeah.
you something so you can be able to tell your story to help another person deal with grief. Because take like she's like Happy Mel said, sometimes if you don't deal with the grief, you will not know how to help another person who's going through the same situation.
True.
And if I had not dealt with my grief, I would not have been able to help one of my friends. Because when in 2014, one of my friends came, she used to be in the U.S. She and her husband work their accountants in Dubai, and she was there. She was pregnant. She was almost at her due date. She came to the U. She came back to have the baby, and went for her last doctor's appointment before her due date. Everything was fine. While in the park, and mind you, like they say, when God wants God something, it's like you see that if you help you have to restrain yourself from questioning God, because you're like,
Mm,
why would you allow all of this to happen? Because
mm,
she was in the parking lot of the doctor's office, felt a sharp pain. Her auntie is a doctor, and she was staying with her auntie when she came back to have the baby.
yeah.
And when she felt the pain, she sat in the car, and she was on the phone with her aunt. Her aunt was asking her how the appointment went with the doctor and everything. She said everything went well. The doctor said she should be back next week and everything, and that if she goes into labor before that, to just have someone give her the doctor a call. And while she was talking on the phone, she felt the pain. The auntie said the pain went away, and so the auntie said, "Oh, ask her how she was feeling." She said the pain had gone away. Under normal circumstances, looking back, you will say, "Oh, but if why did that?" Because that's what somebody asked her. Why did your auntie not tell you to go back into the doctor's office if you were feeling that if you had felt that pain? Why did they
Mm,
ignore it? That's what the person told her, and so it made her so guilty that if she had just gone back into the doctor's office, maybe things would have been different. But this, when she went home, she went and took a nap. When she got up, she just saw herself in a pool of blood. She
oh,
was with serious cramps. When they took her back to the hospital, it was a stillbirth. So they had to do a C-section because, of course, she wasn't even. They tried to do an induce, but it was not. It was too. It was there was no time for that. They did a C-section to take the baby out, and
oh,
this is you. You are a very healthy baby boy too, because he was already full term. So they allowed them to say goodbye to the baby after they cleaned the baby up and everything. And she was, yeah, you are dealing, and which was the situation with me too. Like, you are dealing with a C-section, you're recovering from a C-section, but you have no baby to even like like, I don't want to say compensate, or to even like say this is a C-section because of this baby that you're
yeah.
carrying. Because when I had that child, that was like my third C-section. So I that was that third C-section was what the most trying C-section I had ever had, and I
Oh,
struggled with it so much, because at that time, when you have multiple C-sections, it's like they do the surgery. So it's one scar tissue on top of another scar tissue. So it's
ah,
like what? By the time the recovery from that one took a little bit longer, and even when the baby passed after 2 months, I was still dealing with the like recovery. And so when I finally, so when hers happened, she was crying, and some days she would feel it was almost like uh this lady in it was almost like Janaea's situation. She is like she sometimes she forgot that the baby was not there, and so when you talk, she will say, "I'm going to feed the baby," and you know that there's no baby to feed, or things like that. So, but if I had not gone through my grief or been able to work on it or deal with it, I would not have been able to help her through her
yeah.
own process. She was able to eventually deal with it and eventually even write a book about it too. Yeah, so that
Oh,
is but if I had not, and so happy meal is absolutely, so if you don't deal with it, you will not be able to even be of any help to another person.
true,
You Yes, you can't. Yeah,
true.
so just take time to process things. Take one day and that's one thing I learned, very like, you have to just take one day at a time. It's not saying it's going to magically go poof and go away. Some days will be better than other days. You just take one day at a time. The days that you find yourself down, you just pick yourself up, and you just like think about the positive things, and just and help yourself to get out of it. But don't feel like you're odd, or feel like it's weird, or feel that is not to feel that way.
True,
It's not saying you should deal with it in a specific. There's no specified amount of time to deal with grief, and
true.
you just have to be able to deal with it. Who knew that after how many years, when I saw the influencers loss, I will be triggered? Who, even
Mm,
just this week when I just saw all these emotions, I went then. I think somebody said a spoiler. I don't know why I even looked at it, and I was like, because I've been trying not to. I love the way you did your presentation without giving spoilers. But when I watched it and they gave the spoiler in there, I was like, oh my god, why did I even come here? Because now it made me to now try to say, okay, I have to prepare myself because this is not what I was expecting.
Yeah.
And but I love to watch his movie, so I would love to still go and see what it is about. I would still love to watch it this weekend, but I
Mm.
know I have to mentally be ready for it. Yes, but take your time. Take your time,
Yeah.
everyone. It doesn't matter what kind of grief. The grief could be in different ways. No matter what kind, don't trivialize it. It does like happy message. It doesn't matter what the grief is.
True.
Grief is grief. You have to deal with it to be able to work, to be able to to be able to move on in life, pretty much. To be able to be productive, you have to be able to deal with it. Yeah.
True.
All
True.
right.
Thank
Goodbye,
you.
everyone.
Thank you
Take
so
care.
much. Thank you so much, Eskuko. Thank you so much. God bless you. Thanks for sharing. And I really pray that God gives you strength, strength as you watch the movie because, oh my God, it's a lot, but you'll be fine. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for this splendid time out. Oh my God. Our gatherings like this every Saturday is always a swell time for me. It's just a special time out to just, decompress, push out everything from your head and just chill, just relax. And I always look forward to it. And today's conversation was no disappointment. I'm glad that we're able to come together and have this review of straw and a lot more other things that we learned as well, thanks to Dr. David, doctor in medicine and doctor in education. Put it that way. But I'm really grateful. Thank you all so much to everybody that took our time to share, their own personal review of the movie, their own personal experience. Thank you all so much. I am grateful. I really appreciate all of you, your time, your contribution. I do not take it for granted. I am grateful. Thank you all so much. And to those of you contributing in the comment section, you guys are simply the realest MVPs. Thank you so much for keeping the conversation going in the comment section. To the silent viewers, silent listeners, I appreciate you people as well. Thank you for joining, for keeping the numbers growing. I appreciate all of you. Yeah. And yeah, this is where we're going to stop. Guys, see, for our next conversation, yeah, I'm going to do a video about it. There was something that actually happened um, that happened, I think, 2 days ago. On It's been trending on social media. I'm gonna do a video about it. I think that video should be out either Monday or Tuesday. But it's been insane. Two people actually mentioned the Ifunaya story. To be honest, I've come across it, but I've not really taken my time to listen to it. I get easily bored, when I see all these 10-part stories on TikTok. I'm like, can't you just wrap it up in just one video? It's too much. But a lot of people have been calling my attention to it that, Glory, this story, you have to listen to it. So I will take this week to listen to it, but I will not be putting out a video about it just yet until I familiarize myself with the whole story. All right. So I do not come and give a half-baked perspective to it. I don't know if you get what I mean. But this one it's actually huge. So just going to do a video about it, all right? And hopefully we discuss it on on Saturday next week during our YouTube live conversation again. And then a lot of people have been reminding me about the Big Brother Nigeria reunion, the Big Brother show. To be very honest, I'm not really looking forward to the reunion because as usual, we know it's all going to be filled with lies, but let's see how it goes. If it is worth the time, I will review the reunion, all right? But let's just see how it goes. I really hope it is worth the time because you all know my sentiments with Big Brother Nigeria reunions. It never goes well. It's all a pack of lies. It's all a pack of lies. It's all a pack of God. Anyways, I am not looking forward to it. But let us see how it goes. All right. We'll see how we can review that. All right. But anyways, that is that, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all so much once again for your time. Please make sure you enjoy your weekend, enjoy your evening more, especially. All right. And I hope we all took away something from today's conversation, that if in any way you've been hurt, you need to take our time to just decompress, right? So that there's no implosion. So there's no implosion. Where there's an implosion, it could lead to loss of sanity. It could lose to it could lead to even the worst situations, right? So let's just take our time to take care of our mental health, and more importantly, decompress. All right. And so I'll see you guys on my next video. Once again, enjoy the rest of your evening. Have a fabulous weekend. And thanks for coming through, and bye.